A boy's hands were bound with ropes as someone interrogated him. Strangely, he had died a month ago. Yet instead of his soul departing from this world, it had been drawn into an uncanny realm known as the Dacian dynasty. Here, he was forced to survive against all odds. But giving up had never been in his nature. The story begins with Ashui dreaming of memories of his father, of the days they spent fishing together, carving patterns into the boats and laughing as they caught fish. The warmth of those moments lingered in his heart. As he reminisced, he noticed a red carp floating on the surface of the river. Without hesitation, he leaped into the water after it. At first, it felt like nothing more than a memory, yet something about it seemed unsettlingly real. As he drifted through the water, he suddenly found himself unable to move. A chilling realization struck him. There wasn't a single fish in the entire sea. An eerie silence surrounded him, and an inexplicable force held him in place. Panic set in as he felt life slipping from his grasp. The next thing he saw were two men hovering above him, one of them asking, "Hey, are you awake?" For a moment, he thought he was still dreaming of his father, but reality soon set in. He had entered this world a month ago, believing himself to be dead. The body he now inhabited had once belonged to someone else, a boy who had died a month prior, his soul replaced by his. It had taken him time to grasp the life he was now living. 3 months before Ashui's arrival, the former owner of the body had lost his father, the only family he had ever known. His mother had died at birth, leaving him to be raised in a loving, cherished environment by his father. Though Ashui's soul had taken over, the boy's heart remained, carrying the weight of his past and the warmth of those precious memories. But this world was unlike any Ashui had known. Here, people could train to reach unimaginable levels of power, and they were called cultivators. Even animals could undergo the same transformation, evolving into formidable beings. However, fate had been cruel to him. As an orphan with no one to protect him, the governor had ordered that he be used as bait to lure a sea monster so they could hunt it down. As the monstrous creature emerged from the depths, his captors grew excited. Among them was Master Zhao, a renowned cultivator who had reached the pinnacle of his training. He had spent a decade honing his skills, confident in his ability to subdue the beast. But in an instant, the sea monster devoured him whole. Horrified, one of the remaining captors, Lai Tu-Zhang, desperate to save himself, stabbed Ah Shui in the hand, ensuring that the monster would chase after him instead. As blood seeped into the water, Ah Shui's mind spiraled into despair. He had failed his father, failed himself. He was powerless against his fate. But as he tumbled deeper into the abyss, something stirred within him. A strange energy coursed through his veins, and suddenly, he felt the water bending to his will. At that moment, he realized he had the power to control the water. Ah Shui suddenly realized he could breathe underwater. The panic that had gripped him moments ago faded, replaced by a newfound awareness of his body and surroundings, and especially that he had been blessed with the skill of water control. When the monstrous creature lunged at him again, something instinctual took over him. He felt the currents shifting at his will. With a mere thought, the water obeyed him, swirling to deflect the attack. As he maneuvered through the water with ease, another ability awakened within him: Blood Dominion Talismans. This newfound skill allowed him to forge a connection with a water spirit, commanding it to act on his behalf. Understanding that his only chance of survival lay in immobilizing the beast, Ah Shui focused all his energy on his new power. It was an overwhelming task, the sea monster's raw strength making it nearly impossible to subdue, but Ah Shui refused to give in. Pouring every ounce of effort into the battle, he finally succeeded. The creature, a massive crocodile-like beast, fell under his control. Emerging from the sea, Ah Shui dragged himself onto the shore, exhausted but victorious. The water spirit crawled beside him, no longer an enemy but a creature bound to him by the Blood Dominion talismans. Though only 5% of its power was fused with him, it was now his to command. Gazing at the subdued beast, Ah Shui issued his first order: "Return to the sea. I will summon you when I need you." Without hesitation, the water monkey slipped back into the depths. With the battle behind him, Ah Shui turned toward home. Thanks to the memories he had inherited, he knew the way. It wasn't far. As he approached, the first light of day had begun to break over the horizon. But trouble was waiting for him. From a distance, he spotted Crazy Zhang, one of his captors, leading a group of men from Zhao Manor. Their expressions were filled with rage, their steps swift and purposeful. The villagers watching from the sidelines exchanged hushed whispers. "Ah, Shui is in trouble," one muttered. "They've come for revenge." Before Ah Shui could react, the men reached his house and smashed the gate down. As Zhang stormed into the house, his eyes widened in shock at the sight of Ah Shui, who was alive. But instead of calling him by that name, they addressed him as Liang, which it seemed was his real name, and it was only the people around the town who called him affectionately as Ah Shui. Pointing at him, Zhang turned to Steward Zhao. "Guanem, he's the one, the traitor who conspired with the water monster. Because of him, Master Zhao, the greatest warrior we summoned to exterminate these creatures, lost his life. He must be punished." Hearing this, Ah Shui's expression darkened. "Stop spouting nonsense," he warned. "You kidnapped me and used me as bait for the water monster. If anyone is guilty, it's you." But his words fell on deaf ears. The men continued calling him a monster, completely ignoring his protests. This wasn't new to him. He had been bullied in his past life, branded a monster by his classmates. Just as he had once stood against them, he would have to fight these people as well. Tension crackled in the air as Ah Shui struggled against them, refusing to back down. Meanwhile, Mr. Zhang, standing beside Steward Zhao, leaned in and whispered, "Since he's an orphan, he's the perfect prey for our experiments. We can use him as an ingredient for the pills at Zhao Mansion." Steward Zhao pondered this for a moment before finally speaking. "You will only be forgiven," he declared, "if you willingly submit yourself to being adopted by Master Zhao." Just as those words hung in the air, the room fell silent. At that moment, the village chief entered, the very man who happened to be Ah Shui's grandfather. His presence alone made the Zhao men stiffen. He stepped forward and confronted them head-on. "Stay out of this," one of the Zhao men sneered, but the village chief's gaze was unwavering. "You seem to forget who I am. I am not only the head of this village, but also a government official. If you dare to lay a hand on my grandson, I will ensure that you face the consequences." The men from Zhao Mansion hesitated. They exchanged glances before finally stepping back. "We won't fight you today," Steward Zhao said, his voice cold. "But this isn't over. We will return." With that, they turned and left. As the dust settled, Ah Shui's grandfather turned to him. "Stay away from trouble," he warned. But as Ah Shui watched him leave, a thought crept into his mind. "He won't always be there to protect me. If I want to survive, I must become stronger." Just then, a notification flashed in his mind. Water essence is near. Ah Shui made his way to the sea, where he summoned the great Tahuu crocodile. However, when the creature emerged, it was in a miniature form. Confused, Ah Shui stared at the small figure before him. What had happened to the towering beast he had subdued? It was then that he realized. These creatures had the ability to shrink their size through some unknown power. By transforming into a smaller form, they could conserve energy, allowing them to survive for longer periods without expending too much strength. Shaking off his surprise, he turned to the water spirit. "Since you found the water essence, lead me to where you saw it." Without hesitation, the water spirit guided him to a cave, a sight so breathtaking that Ah Shui stood in awe. The cavern was filled with spirit plants, their luminous glow casting a mystical aura across the stone walls. These were no ordinary plants. Each one contained an extraordinary amount of energy. Cultivators who consumed them could experience a massive boost in strength, accelerating their growth and evolution. As he gazed at the treasure trove before him, another thought crossed his mind. At the Zhao Manor, there was a frozen water pond in the backyard. It was rumored that at the bottom of that pond, special spirit vines had grown, vines that served as hidden traps. Master Zhao used them to ensnare cultivators, forcing them into submission and turning them into his loyal followers. Recalling this, Ah Shui smirked to himself. "Let's see just how much energy I can gain from these spirit plants." He turned to the water spirit, expecting its help, but the lazy creature didn't move an inch. Sighing, he picked a few spirit plants himself and sat down at the shore to consume them. As he ate, he quickly realized his mistake. He had overeaten. His body struggled to absorb the excess energy, forcing him to stop, but the effects were undeniable. Not only had his strength risen significantly, but he also discovered that these spirit plants enhanced the fusion and evolution of water beasts. He used this newfound energy to increase his strength, bringing his water cauldron fusion up to 7.5%. However, he knew he would need to consume much more to reach even greater heights. But not today. Additionally, he couldn't fully rely on the crocodiles to aid him. Their blood circulation slowed in autumn, signaling the beginning of their mating season, a time when they became sluggish and far less useful in battle. Just then, the great Tau crocodile suddenly coughed up a fish, dropping it at Ah Shui's feet. Ah Shui's eyes lit up. If he couldn't rely on the beast for battle, he could at least use it to earn money. Selling fish would provide a steady income and resolve his financial problems. With that thought in mind, he headed to the market, where he successfully sold the fish, securing a total of 80 coins. As he was leaving, a familiar voice called out to him. Ah Shui! He turned to see Zhang approaching with a friendly smile. Listen, Zhang said smoothly. I think there was a misunderstanding between us a few days ago. I don't want any bad blood between us, so how about we settle things over a meal? Join me on my boat and let's talk it out. Ah Shui narrowed his eyes, wary of the sudden change in tone. No one from Zhao Mansion is with me, Zhang added. You're completely safe. Ah Shui remained silent, carefully considering the offer. At this point, a notification appeared before his eyes, which showed him his skill strength. Current status? Coins, 80. Abilities, immobilized. Water Spirit, Water Cauldron Fusion, 7.5%. By this time, the resources at Zhao Mansion were nearly depleted, and countless people had already perished due to the cruel experiments being conducted there. Desperate for a restock, Steward Zhao turned to his most loyal subordinate. No matter what it takes, you must bring Ah Shui here. His voice was sharp, laced with urgency. He's an orphan. No one will question his disappearance. To Zhang, the reward outweighed the crime. If he succeeded, the mansion would grant him immortality. The mere thought sent shivers of excitement through him. Without hesitation, he hatched a plan. A scheme that would deliver Ah Shui to Zhao Mansion and bring him one step closer to his dream. A few days later, as Zhang and Ah Shui set out on a boat after the former's invitation for a meal, gliding over the still waters, Zhang busied himself with preparing fish soup, stirring the broth while keeping his true intentions hidden beneath a friendly smile. Deep down, he was plotting to drug Ah Shui, making him unconscious so he could be easily transported to Zhao Mansion. Zhang turned to Ah Shui, feigning admiration for their surroundings. What a beautiful view, don't you think? He mused. Ah Shui, however, was cautious. Are you sure there aren't any boats around today? He asked. Zhang reassured him with a smirk. I made sure of it. No one from Zhao Mansion is out here today. With that, Zhang scooped a portion of the steaming fish soup and offered it to Ah Shui. He could already imagine Ah Shui choking, his throat closing up as he struggled in vain to scream. Ah Shui rose to his feet, as if about to take a bite. But just as Zhang let his guard down, water surged around his face. Ah Shui had struck first. Zhang gasped, thrashing as his head was engulfed in swirling water, suffocating him as if he were drowning on land. Before he could react, Ah Shui swiftly bound his hands and body, rendering him helpless. Leaning in, Ah Shui's voice was cold. How much did Zhao Mansion pay you to bring me here? He demanded. And what exactly were you planning to do with me? Still gasping for breath, Zhang had no answer. Without hesitation, Ah Shui dragged him to a familiar spot, the very place where Zhang had once kidnapped him and left him for dead. The same place where the water monster had attacked who was now his loyal pet. Does this place look familiar? Ah Shui taunted. Let me remind you, it's where you left me to die. The only difference is, now the monster is under my command. Zhang's face turned pale. He begged for mercy, his voice trembling. Please, don't let it eat me. I'll tell you everything that happens inside Zhao Mansion. Ah Shui narrowed his eyes. Then start talking. Why has Zhao Mansion been recruiting so many servants recently? Zhang swallowed hard before answering. They're all being used for a ritual, a grand plan to make Master Zhao immortal. Ah Shui's fists clenched. Explain. They're ingredients, Zhang admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. To refine the celestial pill, human souls are needed. Many have already died. Master Zhao believes this is the only way to achieve immortality. Ah Shui's blood ran cold. So you've been capturing innocent people? Zhang nodded weakly. I was forced to, but deep inside, he harbored his own ambition. Once Master Zhao became immortal, Zhang intended to use him as an ingredient to craft his own elixir of eternal life. Ah Shui's eyes darkened with disgust. This man had harmed too many people. Without hesitation, he hurled a rock at Zhang's head, ending his miserable existence. A part of him knew that this was necessary. Zhang had seen what he was capable of, his monstrous side. If Ah Shui had spared him, it would have only been a matter of time before Zhang plotted against him again. But now, he had a much bigger problem. He had just made himself an enemy of Zhao Mansion. He needed a plan, a way to protect himself from the storm that was about to come. Just then, a notification appeared before him, which showed him about his current skills status. Current status. Coins 80, abilities. Immobilized water spirit, water cauldron fusion. Reduced to 5%. It had been 3 days since Ah Shui had killed Lai Tu Zhang. As he drifted across the river in his boat, he found himself lost in thought. Having powers truly made life easier. Everything that once seemed impossible was now within his grasp. To avoid suspicion regarding Zhang's disappearance, Ah Shui had carefully maintained his routine. Each day he set out early to fish, returning late to sell his catch at the market, just as he had always done. He used Zhang's notorious reputation to his advantage, claiming that he had simply taken the boat from him as revenge for past bullying. However, he knew that this cover story wouldn't last forever. Sooner or later, Zhao Mansion would trace Zhang's death back to him, and when that happened, there would be no escape. He had to become stronger. To survive, he needed to become a martial artist, and for that, he had to join a martial arts school. In Pingyang Town, the most formidable of them all was Yang Clan Hall. It was said that the head of the clan could shatter gold and split stones, making him an unrivaled force in the region. If Ah Shui could become a disciple there, then no one, not even Zhao Mansion's people, would dare to lay a hand on him. But there was a problem. The entrance fee was 8 taels, while he had only 2 taels and 8 yen. He needed to earn more. As Ah Shui mused over his predicament, the water spirit resting on his shoulder gazed at him, sensing his rising power. He smirked and spoke to it. "My strength has been increasing lately. I can feel it in my bones." He turned toward the river. Let's go fishing. Not just for financial issues he's facing at the moment, but for his training fee as well. Recently, Ah Shui had also developed a new training method. Underwater racing against his immovable water spirit. By compressing the water flow beneath his feet, he could burst forward at incredible speed. However, there was a major downside to it. It drained his stamina rapidly, making it an unsustainable technique for prolonged use. As he was practicing that day, something caught his eye beneath the waves. A mystic fish. Ah Shui's eyes widened. Mystic fish were rare creatures, evolved through unique powers, and were typically found only in the Great Marsh. Seeing one here was unbelievable, and then another one appeared. Excitement surged through him. This was an opportunity he couldn't miss. Without hesitation, he dove forward, commanding his immovable creature to go after the second fish. If only he had brought his net, capturing them would have been much easier. But Ah Shui had another plan. Channeling his water flow control, he manipulated the currents, shaping the waves into a forceful cage that trapped the mystic fish. With a triumphant grin, he surfaced again with a notification showing his current skill status. Current status: money, 2 taels, 8 yen. Captured creatures: 1 immovable water spirit, 1 choni water monkey. Water monkey fusion sync, 7.5%. Ah Shui wiped the water from his face, feeling a surge of accomplishment. He was getting stronger. But time was running out. He had to earn more money and secure his place at Yang Clan Hall before Zhao Mansion made their move. The real battle was only just beginning. Ah Shui felt delighted with the haul he had gathered from the sea today, knowing it would bring him a substantial amount of money. As he pondered over his good fortune, he was suddenly attacked by a monstrous creature. The force of the attack was unbelievable, and he suspected it must be the rumored 6-barbed beast that lived in the Yixing River. He couldn't help but feel frustrated. Of all days, why did the creature have to strike today? Before he could dwell on his misfortune, he saw the beast preparing to strike again. Gathering his wits, he immediately activated the skill Water Control to fight back. Relief washed over him as he realized he had reacted just in time, preventing the creature from finishing him off. However, his relief was short-lived. The monstrous being was smiling at him, showing no intention of retreating. Just then, his immobilized water spirit came in handy, launching a surprise attack from behind and biting the creature, causing it to halt in its tracks. Ah Shui praised the water spirit and reminded himself that if he didn't kill this beast, it would surely kill him. Without hesitation, he activated Blood Dominion talismans, even though it placed an immense strain on his mental energy. As he pushed forward, Persistent notifications warned him that his mental energy was reaching a critical level and that he should stop immediately. Yet, despite the warnings, he poured every last ounce of energy into the attack, and finally, he succeeded in defeating the beast. When he boarded his ship again, he couldn't help but reflect on how strong the barbed fish had been. However, the reward was worth the struggle. He received a notification that he had subdued the water-barbed creature and could evolve it into a tiger-head whale by spending 800 points of water essence. Without hesitation, he proceeded with the evolution. Looking at the transformed creature with adoration, he chuckled. "You sure are chubby. I'll call you Fatty." However, there was still work to be done. It was time to check today's haul. As he poured his catch onto the plank of his boat, his water spirit crawled closer, opened its mouth, and revealed a little spirit fish inside. Ashui smiled and said, "Even though you can't move, you sure are reliable." Before anything else, he needed to replenish his energy, so he ate one of the small fish. Afterward, he decided to keep the horns of the fish as a souvenir. At that moment, a notification appeared before his eyes. His water essence had increased by 18 points, equivalent to 18 spiritual roots. This made him wonder, if a small fish could provide this much energy, a larger fish might give triple the amount, perhaps 54 essence points. His fusion level was currently at 7.5%, and if he consumed both small and large fish, he could surpass 10% instantly. However, he reminded himself that saving for school expenses was more important at this stage. Fortunately, it seemed he had more than enough resources for now. Just then, another notification appeared before him, displaying his current abilities. Dinero, 2 tails and 8 coins. Status, can't move, sleepyhead, nicknamed the Chubby One. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit fusion, 7.5% defined. Ashui then entered the bustling market, surprised by the commotion. He wondered if there was a festival, but they had already celebrated one last year. What were they celebrating now? As he moved through the crowd, he learned that Chen Jicheng, from the Chen family, had caught a spirit fish, a rare creature that only surfaced once in 100 years. Weighing 1.18 kg, the fish had everyone in awe, showering Jicheng with praise, calling him a truly talented young man. Realizing the cause of the excitement, Ashui stepped forward and said, "Our Shangri village is truly blessed by the river god. 2 spirit fish in a single day." The crowd dismissed his words, insisting that Jicheng's fish was the only one. Ashui corrected them, stating that he had caught 2 spirit fish himself, but when he revealed his catch, the crowd burst into laughter, mocking him for calling such ugly fish spirit fish. They accused him of trying to scam people by selling ordinary fish at a high price. Just then, a voice in the crowd exclaimed, "Wait, isn't that the crimson red fish?" The speaker was none other than Master Hu Qi from Young Martial Arts School, his presence commanding respect. Everyone fell silent, mesmerized by his aura. Master Hu Qi turned to Chen Jicheng and asked, "How much would you like for your fish?" Jiteng, thrilled by the attention, replied that Master Hu Qi could name a fair price. When asked about the weight, Jiteng proudly stated it was 1.18 kg. Master Hu Qi offered 3 tails, and Jiteng, overjoyed, agreed instantly. Seizing the moment, Ashui called out, "Master Hu Qi, would you like to take a look at my fish too?" The crowd grew furious, scolding him for his audacity. If he angered Master Hu Qi, the entire village would suffer the consequences. However, Master Hu Qi inspected the fish closely and asked, "Is this a horned pomfret?" Shui, realizing the fish's true identity for the first time, nodded and said it weighed 1.61 kg. After a brief pause, Master Hu Qi made an unexpected offer, 6 towels and 5 coins. A hushed silence fell over the crowd, followed by whispers of disbelief. Someone muttered that even generations of savings wouldn't match such an amount. Ashui agreed to the sale, but couldn't help but ask, "Why is my fish worth double the crimson red fish?" Master Hu Qi explained, "The horn pomfret is used in medicine to create special pills that strengthen essence and refine energy, aiding in overcoming blood flow barriers. I happen to be at that stage, so this fish is incredibly valuable to me." Ashui expressed his gratitude, completed the sale, and returned home. As he counted his earnings, a young boy who had once helped him snuck up behind him and exclaimed, "You've brought pride to our village." The boy reminded him of the favor Ashui owed and cheekily suggested, "If you really want to repay me, just hand over your 6 tails." Ashui laughed, tucking his coins safely inside his gown. Instead he asked, "How much does it cost to enroll at Yang Martial Arts School?" The boy, whose father planned to send him there, replied, 7 taels without lodging, 10 taels with lodging, and 20 taels for lodging plus medicinal baths. It was costly, but as one of the most prestigious academies, it was well worth the price. Shui quickly did the math. He had 7 taels before, and with the 6 taels and 6 coins from today's sale, his total was now 9 taels and 2 coins. That was enough to enroll. He turned to the boy and suggested, "Let's go together tomorrow to register." The boy chuckled. "You're really loaded, huh? Works for me." At that moment, a notification appeared. A treasure fish had been found. Meanwhile, at Zhao Mansion's basement, a steward reported to Master Zhao, "We haven't found Zhang yet, but we have identified the boy. His name is Liang." Master Zhao dismissed the report, saying, "Such trivial matters don't concern me. Handle it yourselves." Just then another notification appeared before Shui, displaying his updated abilities. Money: 2 taels and 8 coins. Status: can't move. Sleepyhead. Nickname: the Chubby One. Water Cauldron, Aquatic Monkey Spirit, Fusion, 7.5%. Shui sat on his boat at night, carefully cutting and preparing a fish soup for himself. As he ate, he immediately felt a surge of energy. His water essence increased by 24 points. He marveled at the power of the water spirit, realizing that consuming it provided such a significant boost. Not only did he feel stronger, but his physical abilities had also improved. Enjoying the fragrance and taste, he tossed some of the soup into the water, inviting his subdued aquatic creatures to share in its benefits and strengthen themselves as well. Just as he was thinking about how fortunate he had been, especially since the Chubby One had found him yet another water spirit, a notification appeared before him. A cauldron bearer, Liang D. Swanxi, revival, a relation at 11.7%, a Deeb's age rack, plus 24.6, evolve into a horned crocodile, a Deeb's age rack, revolve into a horned crocodile, a Deeb's age rack, a Deeb's age rack, and Eeb's age awakens something deep through his crocodile. 6 whiskey catfish, consummate 7.4 points of water essence, to evolve into a tiger head catfish. Shui smiled to himself. It was time to train. His ability to control water had grown significantly, and with the leftover food, the water essence required for nourishment had dropped considerably. At that moment, 2 more notifications appeared, detailing how much water essence his subdued water beasts required for their next evolution. Aquatic Beast Dominion, Great Jaw Taihua, consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. 6 whiskered catfish consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger head catfish. As he held his water cauldron, Shui wondered, what exactly was this artifact? Who created it? Was it a natural phenomenon? It bore a striking resemblance to Yinglong, the winged dragon, or perhaps to Wu Jiqi, the giant monkey spirit. Maybe it was even connected to ancient beings, ones with human heads and snake bodies, or mysterious figures cloaked in black robes. But he quickly shook off his thoughts. Overthinking wouldn't help. He needed to focus on his goal, that is, enrolling at Yang Academy to become powerful enough to face the Zhao family. The next morning, Shui and the Li family boy set off on their journey. The road was filled with breathtaking sights, and they enjoyed the trip immensely. When they reached Pingyang City, their first stop was to feast on delicious food. They then wandered through the city, marveling at exquisite sculptures that seemed otherworldly. They also watched 2 well-built martial artists showcasing their skills, drawing an excited crowd. On the other hand, the Zhao family's men were plotting. They had overheard Shui telling the Li family boy about his plan to enroll at Yang Academy today. They also knew about the tremendous amount of money he had made from selling his fish. One of the men sneered. "That kid made more from selling fish than most people would by selling their wives. What a waste to spend all that silver on a martial arts school." Another one grinned. "We'll do him a favor and save his fortune for him." The group positioned themselves along the route to the academy, ready to ambush Shui. As Shui and his companion walked along the path, the Li family boy asked, "Do you think that after training you'll be strong enough to take on a group of opponents?" Shui shrugged. "I don't know," he replied, though deep down, he wondered, how many could he truly defeat after training? For now, he was confident he could handle at least a few. Just then, they heard a group of men calling out to them. One of them stepped forward, his expression menacing. "If you don't want to be buried alive by the roadside," the man sneered, "hand over all your money." Shui smirked, eyes gleaming with amusement. He crossed his arms and, in a mocking tone, replied, "I'd rather see you buried alive by the roadside, by me." At that moment, a notification appeared, updating his abilities. Money, 2 taels and 8 coin status, can't move sleepyhead aquatic beast dominion, Great Jaw Taihua, consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile six-whiskered catfish. Consumes 7.4 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger head catfish water cauldron. Aquatic monkey spirit fusion, 11.7%. Ashui tightened his grip on his water cauldron. This was going to be interesting.
Gang, who was about to attack Ashui, enraged over the confidence of him. One of them said that he asked for his own death. They came forward attacking him with full strength and vigor by yelling and abusing him. But he was more consistent then in terms of fighting back. The boy of Lee family was witnessing the whole scene with shock and confusion in his eyes as he said with his wide-open mouth and eyes, "What a speed." The fight finished in only 9 moves. Ashui was delighted to see his physical powers had improved greatly. His companion boy asked him if he still needed the assistance of another master. He grabbed his hand and suggested him to move forward as they were not supposed to be late for the registration. There they met Zhang Changsong. He told them that they could call him Big Brother Zhang. They both greeted him. He requested both of them to follow and said, "I will take you to another instructor to evaluate your talent and explain detailed information about cultivators." He took them to the Big Brother HU, who was the direct disciple of Yang. Big Brother HU was supposed to be the instructor of Ashui and his companion boy. Ashui was stunned to realize that it all the same martial arts guy who bought the fish from him earlier. Big Brother HU told Big Brother Zhang did for his advancement. He bought honored pomfret from the stall off Ashui. Brother Zhang allowed them to stay night there. Big Brother HU told time to follow him because he was going to evaluate their innate talent. Ashui got frightened to know about that evaluation test. To console him, Big Brother HU said, "Don't worry, it's about determining which style suits you the best." "Ah," Shui said, "we still don't quite understand what the material path is. We would like Big Brother Zhang to explain the fundamentals." On his query, Big Brother HU told them that the martial path is based on 4 stages which are skin, flesh, bone and blood. He said, "In the skin stage, the body becomes as tough as ox's hide, increasing defense. In the flesh stage, physical strength increases enormously. Lifting someone beforehand wouldn't be a problem. In the bone state, the power is unleashed without the restriction, allowing you to break stone and split boards with ease. Finally, the blood stage enhances all of the body's capabilities to the fullest." He further declared, "Essentially, it all comes down to one word: refine, and an ordinary person also has a limit to be refined." He told them to overcome that limit there were 2 indispensable factors. One is technique, and other is pills. Big Brother HU told him that technique referred to training methods. In their Yang school liquor, 2 types of training methods which were called cultivation techniques. About the pills, he told him that techniques were like ladders, their progression needed pills. That's why he bought pomfret the other day from him as his pill. Shui thought deeply. With the cauldron of fortune, he was going to make it more steadily and firmly. Big Brother guided them not to rush as that path was quite long and it demanded extreme concentration. There were guys looking at them standing behind and discussing them. One of them was Lu Yankai. He asked Zhao Sungongzi if he was talking about Shui earlier. They were in the mood to indulge in blood fight as they were planning him to drag out of martial arts school. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating his abilities. Money, 9 taels, and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger head catfish. Water cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 11.7%. Someone was telling the master that Liang Chu was only 15 years old, and he was the best material required for refilling pills. Furthermore, he was of the same age as the young third master, and was orphaned too. If he got captured and refined into the pill, the body of young Master Zhao would become immortal. He continued declaring, "Since childhood Yuan has always had a weak body. Finding someone of his own age for the viral pill is almost impossible." Master Zhao said that he came to know that that guy was registered in Yang Martial School. Now putting hands on him would be quite complicated and troublesome. He was so desperate, as he said by grabbing the picture of Shui, "I must consume that celestial pill to achieve mortality, and anyone who stands in my way will die." There in the Yang school, innate abilities of Ah Shui and his companion boy were being checked. The boy from the Li family was surprised to see the abilities of Ah Shui. He said that he was envious of his first-class bone talent. He was equipped with upper middle class. Ah Shui told him to leave for the training field. They were on their way when the boy laid his eyes on Chen Jiechang. He was astonished to see him in Yang Martial Art School. Chen Jiechang was also from the Yixing city. He was 2 years older than Ah Shui. He was known as an expert fisherman and had a good relationship with the former owner of that body. Ah Shui protected both of them from getting into a serious blood fight. He asked Ji if he was also a student at martial arts school. Jai told him he had sold all of his fish to acquire the required sum of money to get himself registered in that school. Ah Shui said it was time to leave for the field as Big Brother HU was training the trainees. The boys were getting trained by Big Brother HU. The training was quite difficult and hectic. Brother HU made an announcement that it was the time to take some rest, and afternoon Brother LU was going to train them. Trainees were exhausted when 3 boys came. One of them was Lu Yan Gai. He said on the sight of Ah Shui, boy of Li family and Jie, "Where from the stench of fish come?" Boy Xu Dingyi replied that of course it was from those 3. Lu Yan said that he was going to let them continue their practice if they would be willing to pay them 2 taels. Ah Shui thought he needed to get more power in order to treat them as they deserve. The rest of the 2 boys were mad to hear Lu's statement. They were engaged in a heated conversation when Big Brother HU asked Lu and his companions to get back to practice again in another posture. Ah Shui thought, "The only thing that matters is power. I must grow stronger and powerful." He excused both his companion boys and said he was leaving as he got intuition that his lotus field was in danger. It was his utmost duty to protect it from the enemies. He left in hustle and bustle as he said, "The field is my base to get stronger. I won't let anything happen to it." He didn't return after so long that his fellow boys became anxious about him. Both of them were sitting alone when Lu Yan returned back with his companion by saying that heaven had given him a chance to finish both of them off. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Ah Shui's abilities. Money, 9 taels and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 779 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Water cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 11.7%. As Ah Shui hastened to the lotus field, his heart pounded with anticipation. He plunged into the depths of the river. His senses heightened as he recognized the unmistakable signs of an attack on his lotus field. The realization dawned on him that he was rendered immobile, and the fatty had already unleashed a formidable amount of power, nearing the revered skin realm. Something had startled both Sleephead and Fatty, prompting them to send him a distress message. As he pondered the nature of the creature responsible for the attack, Ah Shui declared, "I have arrived." His eyes scanned the surroundings, and he stood at the marks left by the creature. The sheer magnitude of the creature's size became apparent, leaving Ah Shui awestruck. "Since the last time I savored the spirit fish, my fusion level has escalated to 11.7%, and I can now wield control over 35 liters of water. The most remarkable aspect, however, is the expansion of my underwater perception from a mere 1 meter to a staggering 6 meters, allowing me to capture the minutest details with unbridled clarity." As his gaze fell upon the gargantuan monster, Ah Shui's curiosity was piqued. He wondered if the creature bore a resemblance to a crab. The words of Big Brother Hu echoed in his mind. "Anything that surpasses the skin realm becomes a beast spirit." Ah Shui deduced that if the creature was indeed a crab, it must have undergone a transformation into a beast spirit. Nevertheless, he surmised that the beast spirit couldn't be excessively powerful, considering Fatty had managed to escape its clutches. As Ah Shui prepared to launch an attack on the giant monster, the memories of the scathing comments made about his strength and abilities came flooding back. He recalled the countless instances where people had belittled him, and his resolve was strengthened. Ah Shui reflected on the unpredictable nature of life, where unexpected events could alter one's destiny. He realized that taking risks was an inherent part of growth, and sometimes fate presented opportunities that one couldn't afford to miss. With renewed determination, Shui declared, "I won't give up. I'm not in the habit of letting go of things that are already within my grasp." His eyes locked onto the monster as he proclaimed, "Lai Tuzhang attempted to take my life, and that's why he met his demise. Now you're trying to take my lotus field? Let's see who possesses more skills." Meanwhile, Liu Yan, accompanied by his cohorts, launched a vicious assault on Shui's companion boys. The boys retaliated with valor, but Liu Yan's superior numbers gave him the upper hand. He seized the boy from the Li family, sending Jie flying, and sneered, "I'll pluck out the eyes of the Li family boy and play marbles with them." As Liu Yan prepared to inflict the gruesome punishment, a voice intervened, yelling, "Leave him alone!" At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Shui's abilities. Money, 9 tails and 2 coins. Sleepyhead, consumes 740 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one, consumes 700 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 11.7%. Shui attacked the crab monster with terrible strength, but it went in vain. It made him realize that the crab shell layer was incredibly heavy and invincible. With such a heavy attack his water cauldron got vacant, it eventually led to cause his mental energy failing. He was so frightened, and then he yelled, "Damned, I lost my control." He winked at the fatty and requested it to capture that monster. In the meantime, the crab got reached to the lotus field. The blood falls oozing out of Shui's mouth. He was so mad that he said, "You are not leaving here alive today." Out of the blue, Shui got to him that every entity got some weak point, and so did that monster. He focused on him and noticed that no matter how much wound he would take, but he instinctively protected his abdomen. He can't do the conclusion that abdomen was the monster's weak point. He thought to himself, "I have been planning this attack for a long time. I'll compress the water current at the tip of the wooden spear to maximize its power." He further assumed, "No matter, I can spend all my mental energy to force the construction of Bing Huan, which will extend the spear in 2 stages. In the meantime, the morning notification got alerted. It was displayed as, "Mental energy level too low, control over the aquatic beast may become dangerous. It is recommended that the host stop his action." Despite seeing that warning notification, he was still determined to take revenge from that aquatic beast. He attacked the crab right on the abdomen by his beard as per his mentioned tactic. He finally managed to accomplish his task. After that, he yelled out loud with happiness as, "I won." He forgot extreme blood fight. He thanked both the sleepyhead and the fatty, as they both helped him a lot to win that fight from the aquatic beast. He realized that his head was hurting brutally, which made him assume that he needed to learn that technique more skillfully to use it again. After that fight, he found the demonic crab within the river. He came to know that it was a female one with numerous crab eggs. He was delighted too because it would help him to achieve an incredible amount of water essence. Initially, he decided to tame the crab eggs, but then he wondered, can the Blood Dominion talisman tame those eggs? He used his talisman to tame that egg, and eventually he did so. He got another entity like Fatty and Sleephead. Then the notification appeared. "You have successfully tamed her stone crab. It can evolve by consuming 8,000 points of water essence to transform into a stone claw crab king." At that moment, a notification appeared, updating his abilities. Money, 2 tails and 2 coins. Sleepyhead, consumes 740 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 700 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Fist, consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 11.7%. Shui feasted on the crab, and his fusion kept increasing from 10.4% to 14.7% to 18.8% and finally hit 36.6%. He was turning into the most powerful and strengthened entity with each step of increasing fusion. He uttered, "God, my wounds are healed," with immense happiness. The fusion managed to reach 36.6%. Shui said, "In addition to the bodily skills obtained by consuming spirit fish, I also gain extra energy thanks to the fusion level." He was delighted because he could feel the energy coursing through his body. As per Big Brother Who's directions, he now had the ability to harden his skin. He found out he was even stronger than that. He left the eggs and the leftover crab meat for Sleephead and Fatty. They both thought that the crab meat would get spoiled quickly, and a single egg could only give 6 points of water, which was very little for them. The new crab that he had gotten from the crab eggs was named Fist. Shui thought it would be cruel to let him feed on his own kind. Shui assumed that if he could manage to break the bottleneck in a month, he would be able to officially become a disciple of the martial arts sect. By then, the Zhao family would no longer be able to threaten him. Then he said that it was time to return to the training hall for the morning practice. While Liu Yang was teasing Shui's companions, the young master Liu intervened and said that the sect had its own rules. Liu Yang justified himself, saying that he was catching those people because he was acting on behalf of the third young master Zhao. Master Liu asked him in a demanding and ferocious tone, "Do you follow the sect's rules or do you follow the Zhao family's rules?" Yang started to mock the young master Liu, saying, "Look at this guy. He hasn't been out of the Zhao's residence for even a few days, and he already forgets who his master is." They taunted him, saying that if the Zhao family hadn't taken him and his father in, he wouldn't be able to be what he was now. Before they said that, it was better for him to stay like a coward dog for the sake of survival. They kept mocking him, saying that if he had the courage to rebel, he had forgotten that his father was still living at Zhao's residence. Master Liu was a bit disturbed on hearing all these utterances. He couldn't take a stand for those boys for the sake of the survival of his father. Yang and the boys started beating them so badly that blood began oozing out of their mouths. Their blood fight was going on when Shui returned to the martial arts school. He couldn't bear the sight of his friends being beaten by others so badly. He thus intervened in that fight, his temperament on fire. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating his abilities. Money, 2 tails and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 740 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 700 points of water essence to evolve into a tigerhead catfish. Fist consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, Aquatic Monkey Spirit. Fusion, 36.6%. A fierce battle was unfolding between Shui's gang and Liu Yang. Big Brother Hu was watching the chaos with Master Yang Dongxiang. He couldn't help but feel responsible for the situation. "Today, when I passed the blood step test, I got too excited. I stopped to drink and arrived late, and that's why this happened," he explained. Master Yang Dongxiang nodded thoughtfully. Liu Xiaohui didn't seem like such a cold and worthless person in his daily life. Master said that a fighter without courage is like a person without breath in his heart. Big Brother Hu knew it was time to help the younger brother because he had joined the sect today, while Liu Yankai had already gotten close to the hardened skin face. It was not even a slightest chance of Shui, but the monster was interested to see him fighting. He said that this kid had blood energy and that was very interesting. Shui said to Yang that he told him that he was going to break all his teeth, but he didn't bother to step back, and now he was doing it right away. He mocked him by saying that, "You are nothing but a miserable fisherman." Shui first beaten the gang members of Liu Yang, and then he stopped toward him. He still said that it was not possible for him to defeat him even after defeating his fellow friends. He further said by mocking that he had the blood energy of the trait of those who had really reached the hardened skin phase. Shui beat him so bad that the blood started to ooze out of his mouth. Shui declared to him that he was nothing special to him, while Liu Yang kept on yelling, "Dirty fisherman." Yang mustered up all the courage to attack back, but he couldn't match the caliber of Shui. While being beaten by him, he requested Liu Xiaohui to protect him by saying, "Aren't you going to do something as an instructor? The guy is attacking his own comrades." Because of such a furious blood fight, Master Yang Dongxiang intervened himself and announced by taking the name Liu Yankai, Shui Dingyi, Yu Weilong, Din Kuji, and those 6 were not allowed to come to the sect anymore. He ordered Liu Xiaohui to go to the punishment hall, where he was going to talk to him later. Shui was surprised to see that legendary master, Yang Dongxiang. Master asked him if his name was Liang Chu, and then the master asked, "Would you be willing to be my direct disciple?" He was sitting down on the floor while the master offered him a hand to get up. It was because the master Yang Dongxiang got impressed by his qualities of fighting with so courage, and he had sensed his innate abilities. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating his abilities. Money, 2 tails and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 726 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 685 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Fist consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 36.6%. At Master Yang's residence, a flurry of whispers and murmurs filled the air as people discussed the latest addition to the esteemed master's inner circle. The news of the 9th direct disciple spread like wildfire, and everyone was abuzz with excitement. The fact that the new disciple was a handsome young man only added to the intrigue. As Shui stood in the midst of this fervent atmosphere, a girl caught his eye, staring at him from the doorway. She entered the room, bearing an assortment of clothes, and offered them to Shui with a gentle smile. "These outfits are gifts from your elder brothers and sisters," she explained. "We sisters will help you put them on." Shui, however, politely declined their assistance, preferring to dress himself. As he changed into his new attire, Shui's thoughts wandered back to the events of the past 2 weeks. He recalled the intense battle with Lu Yankai, which had left him and his friends, Chen Jie and Li Libo, with severe injuries. Master Yang's timely intervention had saved them, and under his guidance, they had made a remarkable recovery. Shui felt a sense of gratitude and belonging, knowing that he was no longer alone and had found a supportive community. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the martial arts school, a group of students engaged in a heated discussion about Shui's remarkable victory over Lu Yankai. Xiaoqi exclaimed, "Can you believe that someone who had only been in the martial arts school for a day defeated someone on the verge of breaking the skin barrier?" Xu Zishuai, the 4th elder brother, chuckled. "I've heard this news for 2 consecutive weeks now." Xiang Changsong added, "Master Yang must have seen something extraordinary in him to accept him as a direct disciple at first glance." Just then, Shui entered the room, and the 5th elder sister, Zhuo Qiqin, announced, "He's arrived." Shui thanked everyone for the gifts he had received from his elder brothers and sisters. One of the brothers handed him a piece of exquisite crane gold, saying, "I hadn't given you my gift yet." Shui expressed his gratitude, and the group prepared to head to the main hall, where Master Yang and Mistress awaited them. At the Zhao residence, a different scene unfolded. A servant informed Master Zhao that Zhang's corpse had been discovered, but the mysterious object found in his stomach was nowhere to be seen. Master Zhao's face turned red with rage as he bellowed, "If the government finds out, we'll be executed!" Someone whispered that Liang Chu was responsible for Zhang's death and the object's disappearance. Master Zhao seethed, "Retrieve that object immediately!" "I don't care that Liang Chu is now Master Yang's direct disciple." Back at the martial arts school, Shui was being lauded for his bravery, diligence, and gratitude. Master Yang smiled. "Liang Chu, I offer you again the chance to become my direct disciple." Shui accepted, and Master Yang outlined the school's rules and regulations. "As my direct disciple, you must be lenient, polite, and grateful. You must not initiate fights with your peers or elder brothers and sisters." Master Yang then offered Shui a cup of tea, saying, "By drinking this tea, you will officially become my direct disciple. From now on, no one will be able to humiliate or intimidate you, for I will be your support and shield." At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Shui's abilities. Money, 2 taels, and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 726 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 685 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Fist consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 36.6%. There in the martial arts school, trainees were being trained. They were asked to take some rest for a while when they started to discuss how Liang Ku appeared to be lucky enough to get an offer to be a direct disciple of Master Yang. One of them said that he was too delighted and happy that the LU in his game was kicked out of the school. But once that died, there are other instigators behind them. On listening to all this conversation, one of the tranny got so mad that he said, "Damned Liang Chu." One of the elder brother was teaching Liang Chu and asked him, Do you know what the 4 barriers and 7 paths are? Liang replied. I only know that the skin, flesh, bones, and blood are the 4th barriers, but I'm not too clear about the 7 subsequent paths. The elder brother said that the 7 subsequent parts were wild horse, wolf smoke, tiger hunt, supreme elephant, celestial dragon, smelting furnace, and rainbow transformation. In the wild horse realm, a warrior can peak dozens of horses without moving. In the wolf smoke realm, the blood energy rises like wolf smoke, reaching several meters high. Its force when unleashed is as intimidating as a pack of wolves, instilling terrors than others. In the tiger hunt realm, the blood energy boils like a tide, its force so terrifying that ordinary people tremble in fear like a weak rabbit before the fierce tiger. In the supreme elephant realm, every movement shakes the earth, capable of collapsing the mountains and halting rivers. Those who teach this level can become great generals. In the celestial dragon realm, one become a divine dragon, able to become free from the bonds of the world, leap 3,000 jang, and soar among the clouds, becoming a martial saint of the nation. The elder brother continued by saying that, as for the smelting furnace and rainbow transformation, I know little about that. Only experts in these realms have reached state of immortal ascension. Liang wondered at what stage could the master be at. Elder brother asked him, do you know how many martial arts schools there are in Pingyang town? He replied that there should be 3, at least. Elder brother replied, the other 2 schools remain in Pingyang town because the level allows them to be there, but the master stays in Pingyang because it was his hometown. He told them that their martial arts school was number 1 because of the consistent struggles of Master Yang. Master Yang was the only person in the town of Pingyang who reached a tiger hunt realm. Liang thought that with his abilities, he would be able to reach that realm even faster. Big Brother made an announcement that morning lessons ended there, and he told him not to rush very fast, and asked him to make advancement step by step with relaxation and control to achieve progress. Shui thought that the pressure of Zhao's family would be less. What did he must capture a spiritual fish now to become even more stronger and to become a martial master? He went to the river and captured so many fish, but he was surprised none among them was the spiritual fish. He thought that his fusion had reached 37%. If he could manage to capture the 1 spirit fish, he would be able to break the barrier. He heard some strange sounds and he went after that sound to see what it was. He was surprised to see it was primordial toad biting a giant bird. In that rush he lost all his fishes. He attacked back but he passed out. He asked Sleepyhead, Fatty and Fitzy that they had saved him again. He started to think about that terrifying monster while lying on the ground. He thought he had lost both his fish and his ship, and now he would have to delay his progress at the first barrier. Just as he was about to give up, Sleepyhead appeared with butterfly fish in its mouth. Delighted, he realized he had a chance to break through the first barrier. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Shui's abilities. Money, 2 tails and 2 coins. Sleepyhead consumes 726 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 685 points of water essence to evolve into a tigerhead catfish. Fist consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, Aquatic Monkey Spirit, Fusion, 36.6%. Liang was being taught by the Big Brother that energy for the manifestations of the strength of the warrior. He told him, warrior isn't strong because of the blood and energy. It was because its constitution was strong enough to concentrate sufficient blood and energy. Blood and energy are in the cause of strength, but it's a consequence, and that consequence in return can reinforce the cause. They feed off each other in an endless cycle. This is called the incense of concentration, which helps warriors surpass their limit. He further told him about the keys of breaking the skin barriers, and becoming the warrior was training the flow of blood and energy in the chest, and every time the blood and energy will strengthen, he can replenish them in time with fish meat. That was a time number 38. They were training him about breaking the skin barrier by using his inner vitality energy to stimulate the tissues and skin all over the body, and thus strengthening them. He continued to tell him about the refinement of the skin, that when he would manage to feel a warm current emanating from his chest that merged with his body's blood and energy. That current would flow into every limb and part of his body, and then it would reach finally the tissue, and skin it would turn into a surge of heat. That was a time number 40, and he still needed to acquire more skills. His fusion level had reached 49% still. He couldn't break the skin barrier yet. He senses that his fusion level reached 50%. It would cause a major change. He was practicing when he realized that he was out of the meat fish and the lotus has no effect on him now. In the meantime, somebody had knocked on his door. It was Chen Chung and Li Dekang, fathers of Chen Jichang and Li Libo. They came to ask him why their sons haven't returned for last 2 days back home from the martial arts school. They actually didn't come because their wounds were not completely healed and they were afraid to get back home. Shui told them that they were selected by the master. That's why they were staying there. Fathers of Li Libo and Ji were delighted to hear that news. Nothing said that they both had grown up with Shui and therefore they knew that both those three would have a better future. One of them also said, "I also come to remind you of something. Our town is organizing and at their sacrifice ceremony to the river god." They told him that they were performing it again because yesterday, the river god manifested itself by leaping out of the water and catching a huge flaming bird. Even the sky got cracked at that moment. Liang was surprised because he knew that they were talking about the toad, what is bonded, that he would try his best to reach in time and participate in that practice. Liang dived into the river again and came across Monster. He recognized that the force of the water flow he could control was approximately 150 kilograms and can be compressed into 10 liters of water to unleash, which meant each liter was equivalent to 15 kilograms of force. Now his underwater strength had already said past the threshold, he could probably easily defeat 4 Lu Yankai. He thought, as for the water plate technique, if only I had a proper weapon. He talked to himself. I heard from the third eldest brother in the world that there are weapons called spiritual weapons. Red can self-repair and upgrade, but these kinds of weapons usually require rare materials to forge their cores, and thought that when he would be able to get the one. Liang asked the fatty if he had found something under the rubble. Then he got the vision of the red feather. He thought it must be lost from the giant bird, and it looked special. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Shui's abilities. Money, 2 tails, and 2 coins. Sleepyhead. Consumes 726 points of water. Essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The chubby one consumes 685 points of water essence to evolve into a tiger head catfish. Fist. Consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron. Aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion. 49%. Liang, on seeing that red feather, said, "This should be the red feather from yesterday. Right?" Liang said that the feather looked very rare. It could be something precious. He said after some time, he planned to visit Brother Lu's forge to check his weapon and intended to ask him about the feather when he got there. He went to the Pingyang County. He thought that it seemed to be near Pingyang County, so he decided that he was going to take the opportunity to ask the older brother later. Upon entering Lu Min's forge, Brother Lu greeted him by saying, "It's Brother Liang." Liang said, "Brother Lu, this morning while fishing I found something dangerous. I came to ask you about it." He showed him Crimson Fire Feather. Brother Lu said that that thing was very valuable, and it was an amazing find done by Liang. He said the feather came from a spiritual creature called the Crimson Firebird. Whenever it faced mortal danger, it injected all the vital essence of its body into one of its feathers and dispersed it in all directions to escape. Among those feathers, one contains the greatest amount of vital essence, known as the Golden Crimson Fire Feather. The bird is reborn through that feather, similar to the lizard's tail being shed, but in that case, it discards its entire body. Liang shouted in surprise by saying, "Incredible! So, is my feather a golden feather?" Brother Ali replied, "No, it wasn't, otherwise they wouldn't even be able to get close to it." He suggested to turn into a spiritual weapon instead of absorbing its energy. He then asked if Liang had decided what type of weapon he wanted. Liang replied that he had made up his mind based on his experiences from the last fight against the rock crab. He knew that long-handed weapons were more suitable for water, plus they could be combined with his own techniques. By thinking that, he replied that he had chosen a spear. Brother Lu said, "A spear? You don't see many of those in the martial school, although the longer the weapon, the greater its reach, the longer weapons are harder to control. He replied that he had made up his decision. He requested the brother to insert the feather into his weapon. Deep down, he was very happy that he was going to have a spiritual weapon. Brother Lu replied. When his weapon would be ready, he would let him know so he could come to pick it up. Soon before leaving, he asked Brother Lu about the long column of smoke. Brother replied, "It's the Fawa Temple. There was a huge fire this morning, and in that fire something appeared that shouldn't have been there." He told that it was a mountain demon. At that moment, a notification appeared, updating Ashue's abilities. Money, 2 tails and 2 coins. Sleepy Head, consume 726 points of water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. The Chubby One, consumes 685 points of water essence to evolve into a tigerhead catfish. Fist, consumes 8,000 points of water essence to evolve into Stoneclaw Crab King. Water Cauldron, aquatic monkey spirit. Fusion, 49%. The girl with a swollen belly came out asking for help when she saw a little master. In the meantime, she got faint and was taken somewhere for help. When she woke up, she was greeted by an old man who said, "Amitabha Miss, you have finally awakened." She asked where she was, and she was told that she was at Fawa Temple. The old man then asked her what happened to her. She replied, "I am originally from Huazhu County. 3 months ago, I went to Pingyang County to visit my relatives, but I didn't expect to run into a group of mysteriously looking bandits. They blindfolded me and dragged me to a mysterious place. The place was a true hell," she continued. "The people there had been tortured into becoming demons. I was forced to endure unbearable suffering, and my body was subjected to unspeakable cruelty." The old man listened attentively, his expression filled with compassion. The girl took a deep breath before continuing. "They kidnapped me for a specific purpose. I was given a strange broth made from the meat of a mountain spirit. Regardless of whether I was a man or woman, my belly swelled, and I conceived a mass of flesh. After 3 months, these masses of flesh would turn into fetal pills, and several of them could be refined into fetal pearl pills. It is said that consuming these pills allows one to achieve immortality. But I know the truth. It's a cruel and sinister practice. The bandits used us as breeding vessels for their twisted experiments." A Liang boy reached there and asked Lin, "It's really strange. What exactly are these things in the belly? Please tell me." Lin Guiyang replied, "That is the fetal pearl built, created by the Great Superior. These people are given broth made from the meat of a mountain spirit." A Liang asked, "In 3 months? And what if it goes beyond 3 months?" Lin replied, "If it isn't extracted within 3 months, it will hatch." A Liang's eyes widened in horror as he asked, "What do you mean it will hatch?" Lin replied, "You wouldn't want to know that." Back at the temple, Master instructed Jiming to go and bring some vegetarian food for the lady. Jiming went into the room where the miss was falling asleep. But as he entered, he witnessed something very strange. He found the miss already dead, and the mountain demon standing beside her. The monster attacked Jiming too, and he let out a blood-curdling scream as the creature's claws dug deep into his flesh. Master Lu arrived at Fawa Temple, ready to offer his assistance. Officer Wang greeted him, saying, "Young hero Lu, thank you for helping us with this investigation. We wouldn't have wanted to trouble sir to send someone." Master Lu replied humbly, "Officer Wang, there's no need for such courtesy. This is what warriors from our martial arts school must do." Before departing, Master Lu asked his master what specific tasks he needed to accomplish at the temple. His master replied mysteriously, "You don't need to know that. When you see it, you'll understand." With that, Master Lu set off towards Fawa Temple, accompanied by Officer Wang and a few other officials. As they entered the temple, they were met with a gruesome sight. Numerous corpses littered the ground, with visible bite marks. Master Lu observed that the wounds seemed to be caused by a massive insect, but he wondered if such a creature even existed. The bodies were mangled beyond recognition, with not a single one intact. Master Lu thought to himself that there might be a few survivors, as Zheng Xiang had mentioned earlier. However, the bloodstains and drag marks on the ground confused him. It seemed as though the bodies had been dragged in a specific direction, but the marks abruptly stopped. Xiao Luo and the monk were also present, surveying the carnage. As they explored the temple, Master Lu noticed strange objects on the ground. Someone asked him what they were, and he replied grimly, "Those are mountain demon eggs. The mark of the Mother Phantom sect is present." Officer Wang's eyes widened in astonishment, and he asked, "The Mother Phantom sect? The remnants of the ancient dynasty?" Master Lu continued, "When a mountain demon hatches and absorbs enough blood and flesh, it prepares for its second phase. Once the nest is ready, it will hatch into a creature with the strength of an unbridled stallion." The officer's face turned pale as he grasped the severity of the situation. Just then, the monster emerged from its egg, signaling the start of the second wave of the mountain demon. It began to attack the people present, prompting the officer to cry out for help. "Hero Lu, save me." Master Lu replied, "That's the creature in the unbridled stallion state. I haven't broken the 4 barriers yet. I must retreat. I can use all my strength to break the door without any problem, but if that monster escapes outside, it would cause extreme danger to the rest of the city." With a deep breath, Master Lu steeled himself for the impending battle. He knew it was time to utilize all his powers and strength against the unbridled stallion. The fate of the city hung in the balance, and Master Lu was determined to protect it. Lu remembered that day when he used to say, "One day I will become a great hero like Yang Dongshang, renowned across the land." His little sister used to praise him, filling him with determination and ambition. He thought about how his father was working at Master Zhao's residence, which would give him the chance to join the martial arts school. As he recalled the past, he remembered how young Master Zhao Shuiyuan had mocked him, saying, "A motherless piece of trash like you should just rot away in a corner with your sickly father for the rest of your life." Lu had gotten into a fight, defending his honor, but was left wounded. His father had helped him heal, asking if he had gotten into another fight with young Master Zhao. Lu's father had always given him words of advice, telling him to be humble, respect his elders, and never show off. Lu had replied that he understood, but deep down, he knew he wanted to prove himself. His father had consoled him, saying, "No matter what happens, you must become someone you yourself can respect." When Lu joined the martial arts school, Master Yang had told him, "Those who enter my sect must be open-minded, humble, and eager to learn. They must not be arrogant about their achievements or look down on others." Master Yang's words echoed in Lu's mind as he attacked the monster in the temple with full vigor and strength. With his sword flashing in the dim light, Lu struck the monster with precision and power. The monster stumbled, its strength waning as Lu continued his relentless assault. Master Yang's words continued to echo in his mind. They must respect their parents and elders, and must never harm their fellow disciples or act against righteousness. As Lu fought, he remembered Master Yang standing alone against the monsters, heavily wounded. Lu's determination grew, and with a final mighty blow he struck down the monster. However, in the heat of battle, he had also attacked the victim, a boy who had been possessed by the monster. Lu apologized, saying, "I am sorry. I cannot let this monster escape. I have no choice but to sacrifice you. I could only wound it this much. Thankfully, it's not a galloping horse yet." The boy, surprisingly, praised Lu, saying he had done a heroic thing. Lu's mind flashed back to his childhood, when he had been bullied by Zhao, forced to torture little kids. But Lu had refused, choosing instead to save the kids and telling them, "Heroes never bully the weak." With a sense of pride and purpose, Lu stood tall, knowing he had upheld the values of his master and his own sense of justice. Sometime later, at the Zhao estate, the chief shouted angrily, "She's nothing but trash!" He kicked Zheng in the chest. "What kind of reckless decision was that? Do you even realize how furious the Lord will be if the Fawa Temple incident gets exposed?" Zheng, terrified, cried out. They had acted as soon as they found out the girl had escaped, leaving immediately to chase her down. But who could have guessed she'd run to the temple? By the time they caught up, the place was already covered in blood, Zheng had no choice but to turn Lu Xiaohui over to the authorities. As soon as they entered the Sutra Hall, the cult members slammed the doors shut and started a fire, trying to destroy all the evidence. Furious, the cult leader grabbed Zheng by the ear. "Why start a fire? It'll take 3 days to burn this place. Do you think we have that kind of time?" Suddenly the Lord stepped in. "Enough." He stood up slowly and spoke with cold authority. "You're all responsible for this." They hadn't watched the girl closely, and now everything was falling apart. Worse, they had been dishonest with the Great Mother, and that dishonesty had to be punished. He placed his hand on his shaking assistant. "This is the will of the Great Mother," he said. Moments later, that assistant collapsed to the floor, dead. Zheng and the leader looked at the body in horror. Wiping blood from his hands, the Lord continued. "Master Zhao gave everything to our cause. I'm sure the Great Mother will forgive him." He turned to the leader and stared with a chilling smile. "Don't forget, we're all in this together." The chief, clearly rattled, nodded quickly. "Yes, I'll take care of it." But the Lord wasn't done. Before leaving, he gave a final warning. "And what about Zheng? Are you ready to abandon your own son?" Zheng fell to his knees, bowing deeply. "Never again, my lord, I swear it." The Lord laughed darkly. "Then I'll be counting on you." He walked away. The chief slumped into a chair, exhausted. Zheng looked at the corpse beside him and said, "That was a direct threat." The chief growled, "What did you expect?" Without his family's power and wealth, no one would listen to that old man. He paused, thinking. "At least you were smart enough to make that woman give birth to a monster. That'll get rid of any witnesses. A chance like that won't come again anytime soon." He smirked. "Everything's going almost according to plan. We just need to lay low for now. The authorities are already investigating. Once things cool down, we'll go to Huangzhou. He's got land out there. We'll live well. The son can continue his education, and that freak Yang Dong won't interfere anymore." He stood up. "If we want to survive, we need to clean up the mess quietly." Later, at Yixing Market, the Shui reflected. "I didn't expect Lu Xiaohui to end up like this. According to Libo, he was the only one who stood up for us that day. Seems like he was a good man." But something was bothering them. What was Xiaohui even doing at the Fawa Temple? The clan never received any request from the authorities that day. He sighed bitterly. "This world is so cruel. At least that monster's dead now." Suddenly, Chen Qingjiang called out, "You are back!" The main character turned quickly. "What happened?" Chening urged him. "Come home. See for yourself." A crowd had already gathered outside his home. Far away, a centipede crawled over the rocks. A figure stepped on it, crushing it underfoot, and whispered, "Immortality." He ate the centipede and whispered our main character's name. After a moment, Shu Chenquan grumbled loudly, complaining that everything was broken or rotten. Hands on his waist, he shouted, "This guy really went through hell." Nearby, Ding Yi, tired and tied to a table, asked his father to stop yelling. "I've been lying here for half an hour. This fisherman isn't worth all this," his father snapped, hitting him with a stick. "Ungrateful brat! How did I end up with a son like you?" Ding Yi cried out in pain, begging him to stop, afraid he'd die from the beating. But Cheng Quan, full of rage, struck again. "I'll beat you to death if I have to!" Meanwhile, Ah Shui's aunt, peeking through a crack in the door, whispered. Like everyone else, the boy thought the martial arts clan would turn him into a man. Liang Guangtian asked her when she ever said such a thing. She replied she didn't remember sharing even a grain of rice with that boy. "What does he want from us now?" Guangtian snapped back. "What does she know? Does she think he'd actually repay us for kindness?" Then he angrily told his wife to remember MC's foolish father. Frightened, she begged him not to yell so loudly. Guangtian looked out the crack and warned them to stop talking. Ah Shui was coming. Outside, Cheng Quan shouted at his son in the street. "Ungrateful little punk! How dare you speak to me like that?" MC looked at them, confused. What are they doing outside my house? Then, Chen Quan ran over to him with a big fake smile and shouted, "Nephew! You've grown strong and proud, just like a pine tree standing firm in the wind." "No wonder the master took you as a disciple," the crowd gasped. "Master Yang Dong? From the Yang clan? The great hero Dongyan?" The old man smiled and gave a thumbs up. Becoming his personal disciple is like becoming his adopted son. Even the authorities will have to respect him now. People surrounded MC, praising him. "We always knew this boy would have a great future." "How old is he now? Time to find him a wife." "What a noble presence he has." Then, Chung Quan raised his stick and shouted, "My disgrace of a son. If my nephew wants to beat him, I won't stop him." MC calmly took the stick in hand and replied, "So I'm free to do as I wish?" He smiled coldly. "I don't hold grudges for long, but holding it all in would hurt my mental health." Turning to Dingy, he asked, "Don't we all want to live a good life? What do you think?" Dingy fell to his knees, crying in fear. "I was wrong. I'll be your slave, your horse, anything you want. Just spare me." MC lowered the stick. "That's enough. You've already paid for what you did. You weren't the main one behind it all." Dingy sobbed and quietly thanked him in his heart. Suddenly, Chung Quan stopped MC. Dingy clenched his fists in anger. "Does Dad really want to kill me?" But Chung Quan pointed at a tray nearby and said, "My nephew is so kind. I can't stay ungrateful." The crowd gasped. "Is that 200 silver taels? We've never seen that much in one place." Suddenly, Guangtian opened his door and called out, "Nephew, don't forget, I'm your real uncle, blood-related." He offered to discuss compensation. The villagers weren't having it. "Have a conscience," they shouted. "Where were you when Liang Ahesh was starving? Now that there's silver, suddenly he's your favorite relative?" Guangtian defended himself angrily. "Where would he be without me?" Chung Quan turned to MC and asked, "Who is this guy?" MC replied flatly, "I don't know him." He remembered clearly. This so-called uncle never gave him a bowl of rice, even when he was starving. Just a leech living off others. Smiling, MC said, "If Uncle wants to help so badly, there's a village festival coming up. Everyone has to donate 100 fen to honor the river god. Maybe he could cover the costs for everyone?" he added. "And maybe set up a field kitchen. There are a lot of starving people passing through lately." The villagers cheered. "Liang Ashui is right. Thank you. Visit us again soon." Ashui closed the door behind him, sighed and smiled. "Looks like I handled that well." Stretching, he checked his body. "The last time I trained my skin barrier, it wasn't this dense, but now it's inflamed." He confidently gripped his neck. "Looks like I'll be breaking through the first barrier today." He poured water into a vat and touched the surface with his hand. He thought to himself, "A breakthrough causes severe overheating. One mistake, and my brain could burn out. I'll have to cool myself down the hard way." The protagonist sat in a large vat of water, eyes closed, focusing as he pushed to break through to the next level. Time passed. Water slowly evaporated around him. Energy built up in the air as he remained perfectly still, until finally he opened his eyes and whispered, "I did it." He could now control up to 250 liters of water, a huge improvement. But strangely, the system didn't show much progress. The fusion percentage was still at 49%, and his water essence level remained at 0. The creatures under his control were still just Taihua, Fatty, and Fist. Getting dressed, he thought to himself, "I didn't expect breaking through the skin barrier to bring this kind of effect. If I can master the rest, I'll be able to control tons of water. My abilities actually work together better than I thought. I don't need more right now." He opened the door and accidentally knocked over Guangtian, who had been standing outside holding a small bag. Guangtian hit the ground, rubbed his nose, and smiled nervously. "Nephew? My favorite nephew." Standing up, he gave a sly grin. "I was so worried about you. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I even scooped some rice from the bottom of the jar just for you." The protagonist, calm and composed, replied, "Keep it. I don't think I'll be running short on food anymore." He thought to himself, in this world, rice was as valuable as gold. He started to close the door, but Guangtian grabbed the edge of it. Wait, hold on a second. Wham! The door slammed into him. He fell again, clutching his head. Frustrated, he shouted, "What's wrong with you? I'm your uncle, your only living relative." He continued ranting. "Even this house should belong to me. Mister, he gave you that huge sum of money, and you didn't even give half of it to your cousin. I'm older than you. You should respect me, obey me." The protagonist's expression darkened. His voice turned cold. "Guangtian, do you want to die?" Guangtian's heart stopped for a second. The boy standing before him looked taller, scarier, different. He panicked and started yelling, "Everyone, come look at this heartless boy! He joins a clan, and now he acts like his own blood means nothing. I'm his real uncle. Xiaolu is his cousin." Two villagers walked up and spit in his face. One said, "Where were you when his father died? Did you help pay for the coffin? Did you feed them when they were starving?" The other added, "You left them with nothing but a boat. That boy's father worked himself to the bone to raise him alone." Disgraced, Guangtian snapped, "Who even are you people? Who said you could talk?" Suddenly, Chen Zhaoan, the old village chief, hit him in the stomach with his cane. "You selfish fool. Now that he's doing well, you come crawling back. Where were you before?" As Guangtian staggered to his feet, Zhaoan hit him again. "Get out of here. I don't want to see your face again." After he left, Shui bowed and thanked the old chief. "I appreciate your help. May I ask why you came?" Zhaoan smiled and said, "I'd like you to serve as the river priest at the upcoming festival." Shui was surprised. This role would give him the chance to observe everything closely during the event. It was a great opportunity, especially if he wanted to uncover what had really happened at previous festivals. He agreed immediately. Zhaoan nodded. "Then make sure to study the ritual texts carefully. The festival is just around the corner." The next morning, Shui stepped out of his house with a tired look, a small backpack slung over his shoulder. The sun was shining. The flowers looked like they were smiling. A little bird chirped as if to greet him. He yawned and thought, "I don't know many of the local characters. That's a problem. But now I need to learn the ritual text too. There's no other way." Raising a hand to the sky, he declared, "I will become a disciple of the ancient world." Sometime later at the academy, the teacher was reading a book out loud. He said that hard work would bring comfort, respect, and wealth. He warned not to mix with criminals because they were bad people by nature. The main character, MC, smiled slightly and thought it was funny that he was back in school, but never expected it to be elementary school. A child sitting next to him raised his hand and told the teacher that the MC didn't repeat after him. The teacher got angry and shouted that the MC shouldn't act proud. He should be thankful that someone like him was even allowed to study there. He should feel lucky to have him as a teacher. With a calm smile, Shui repeated what the teacher had said earlier. He said people should follow the law, respect those in charge, and act wisely. Hard work would bring comfort, honor, and wealth. One should stay away from criminals because they are not good people. He added that studying was hard, but it was needed to understand the world. Insects, plants, monsters, and more. He bowed and said he had already memorized it all. He thought to himself that in his past life, he had studied at a top university. Still, he felt this way of learning characters was not very effective. The teacher got even more upset and shouted that this method had been passed down for generations. What could someone like the MC possibly understand? He accused him of looking down on him. What could some uneducated fool suggest anyway? Shui, still calm, said that the teacher's way of learning meaning was good. But it was still very hard, and needed people to remember each character by heart. He offered a different idea, breaking characters into parts that each stood for a sound. He called it the Pinyin system. A man named Si Hengyi walked into the classroom and said that it sounded easier than the old way. He asked if the MC could explain it more. The students were shocked to see him and said he had come from the capital. The teacher bowed to him. After a while, Hengyi became curious too. The teacher, looking annoyed, loudly said sorry to the wise people of the past. He didn't want to hear this nonsense. But Hengyi ignored him and said that in Shun Dynasty, scholars were rewarded. If someone came up with something useful, they could get money, skip taxes, or even earn a noble title. Shui thought that soon people would start to notice how special he was. But to avoid suspicion, he had to shape his reputation himself. Hung Yi called him by name and asked if he wanted to study under him, since he was clearly talented. The teacher was surprised and started to say something. But Hung Yi turned to him and said that learning should not depend on status. He had learned this from his own teacher. The old teacher was shocked and said this was outrageous. He was about to speak again, but Heng Yi patted him on the back, laughed, and said he shouldn't worry. If his student had questions, Hung Yi would ask them. If the student couldn't handle something, he would take care of it himself. The MC bowed, called Hung Yi his teacher, and thanked him. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the river, his pets were playing with little balls. Fist was holding a ball and saw that Fatty was making signs that he wanted to catch it. Fist threw the ball with all his strength. It hit the catfish on the head and bounced off hard. The catfish's head hit a big old bell, and the cracks on it started to glow. At night, Shui dove into the river and swam with Taiwa. He listened to his pet with a smile and said he knew it was his doing, so he had dug this tunnel. The crocodile proudly pointed at a crack, while Fatty looked annoyed. Shui smiled and agreed, saying it looked amazing. He swam inside and thought the place was much bigger than he expected. Was the light coming from that vine? It looked like there was even more space above. He touched the vine and noticed it felt soft. He tried to eat it but couldn't. He couldn't even bite through it. He called his pets by name and told them to swim farther. He swam out of the crack and wondered if there was air in this place. Was the vine growing from here? Suddenly, a strange bug flew past his head. It kept flying fast and then smashed into the wall. MC looked at it calmly and said it was too slow. He had already seen it coming. It was a centipede, right? The monster jumped at him again, but Fist blocked it with his claw. MC was a bit surprised and said it looked like Fist had grown. The crab grabbed the centipede with its claw and lifted it up. MC praised him and said he had heard that centipedes had strong jaws. But their most dangerous weapon was their poison. If he could tame this monster, it would make a great hidden weapon. He thought he should have just enough psychic energy for this. He picked up a small stone, hit his finger, and said his body had become stronger after breaking the skin barrier. He would need to ask Brother Lu to make him a dagger later. He touched the centipede with his fingers and started using his skill to tame it. Suddenly, he felt a lot of pain and wondered why the backlash was so strong. Then the system warned him of danger and said he had tamed the heavenly centipede. He started breathing hard from being so tired and said luckily, he succeeded. This monster was really fierce. He decided to name it Ah Wei. Then, the system said that the heavenly centipede had mutated because it absorbed mushrooms and the blood of a warrior. Now it needed 10,000 points of water essence to evolve. Shui was shocked when he heard this and shouted that every pet kept becoming more and more expensive. Also, where had Wei even found mushrooms? Wei began crawling toward a dark cave, and MC followed it. When he got closer, he saw a skeleton. Next to it, a message said the skeleton belonged to a former Navy general from the Great Qian Navy. After losing and getting badly hurt, he sank. He felt too ashamed to face the king, so he chose to die here. After a while, Shui read this slowly and said with a frown that he couldn't understand the rest. It didn't look like the person just sank here. Maybe an old battlefield was buried nearby. There might still be something valuable there. The chest seemed to hold spiritual mushrooms. He apologized for disturbing the dead, opened the chest, saw the mushrooms, and said Wei had probably eaten them. He said he would bury the person under the lotus field. That might make him happy. He picked up a small mushroom from the chest and said it was time to get stronger. It should be enough to raise his match rate to 50%. He said he would give Taiwa 1/6 and Fatty and Fist 1/12 each. Wei had already eaten a whole mushroom, which was enough for him. The main character would eat the rest. He ate it and smiled happily. It was soft like tofu and very refreshing. The system said he got 216 points of water essence. He was surprised. It was more than what he got at Crab Row. If he used it all to get stronger, He didn't finish the thought, just pressed the button. He used all the water essence, and the system said his fusion rate was now 70.6%. The fusion with the water monkey was more than halfway done. A new skill, Aqua Leap, was unlocked. Because of this, strong energy came out of him. He felt power moving all through his body. He looked at his fist and smiled. He wanted to see what he could do now. Then, he jumped into the water and used Aqua Leap. Shui guessed the distance wrong and hit the wall with his face. He looked confused and said it was a movement skill, but it used too much energy and was hard to control. Still, if what he read was true, it was amazing. The system window said Aqua Leap could be upgraded to Aqua Lap with the river's favor. He used the skill and said he could now control up to 400 liters of water. That was a big improvement. The pets also got stronger by 200 to 500 points. He looked at Fatty and asked how he got ahead of the others. Something was strange. Maybe it was because of how he digested food. He looked at Fatty's worried face and started laughing. Shui looked at the system and said the river festival would start in a week. He had to train hard before then. He felt it was connected to the festival. A week later, early winter arrived. Libo knocked on his door, called his name, and said it was time to go to the festival. Shui walked to the table where Wei stood and called him over. The centipede climbed onto his hand and wrapped around his wrist like a bracelet. He walked out smiling and said they could go. At the same time, a big crowd gathered in the square. A girl named Nier saw something in the village and began crying in fear. Her mother came with a handkerchief and asked what was wrong. Why was she crying? Nier pointed in fear and said she saw a monster. Her mother didn't see anything and told her not to joke like that. Where would a monster come from in their village? She told Nier to stop crying and promised to buy her sweets. But Nier was not wrong. There really was a scary monster hiding behind the building. It was the same monster from before calling Liang our MC Shui and talking about becoming immortal. As the festival began, drums echoed through the village square. A voice called out, "Bring the sacrificial animals!" The shaman was already in place. He nodded to the head priest, signaling it was time to begin. Shui stepped up onto the wooden platform and stood in front of the altar. The shaman turned to the crowd and announced, "The ritual is about to begin." Shui picked up a scroll from the altar and began to chant. He called out to the river god, asking for his blessing. "By your grace, we claim the lands of Yixing City by the Jianghuai rivers. In return, we offer these gifts, gathered by the people who worship you." Below the platform, Libo stood beside Ji Chang, watching the MC intently. He thought, I don't know what changed in him, but we grew up together. Is this really the same person I knew? But something else was watching too. The monster from before had climbed onto the roof, observing from a distance. The MC spotted it. His eyes widened. "That's the mountain beast Brother Lu warned me about." It looked just like the one described in Muin's Monster Almanac. Cracked skin like dry bark, just as pictured. Nier turned around and saw it too. She froze in fear, then screamed, "Mom! It's the monster again!" The villagers turned to look. Panic spread instantly. "What is that thing?" someone shouted. The monster leapt from the roof, landing on the floor. Shui shouted, "Everyone scatter! Run now!" But even before he spoke, the villagers were already fleeing in every direction. In the chaos, Nier stood frozen, calling out for her mother. Her mother panicked, pushed through the crowd, yelling her daughter's name over and over. The monster spotted Nier. It charged. It raised its clawed hand, ready to strike. The MC's heart raced. I won't make it in time, he realized. Libo also rushed toward Nier, but he was too far away. Her mother screamed and ran toward her daughter as fast as she could. But just in time, Ji Chang reached her. The monster's blow hit his shoulder instead. He fell, pulling Nier down with him, sliding several meters across the ground. Gritting his teeth, he shouted, "Libo, help me!" The monster roared and continued its charge. Libo pulled out a dagger from under his clothes. "I just learned this technique, but I have no choice," he shouted. He threw the dagger, but the monster dodged it easily. He panicked. "I don't have time to throw another one." As the beast lunged again, Ji Chang stared at it with horror. Libo yelled, "Shui, if you're hiding any tricks, now's the time to use them!" Suddenly, the MC activated his Aqua Stride skill. In a flash, he rushed forward. and with all his might, he punched the monster, slamming it into the ground. Just seconds earlier, he'd thought he wouldn't make it. This water had been gathered from the river specifically for the festival ritual. To use Aquastride, the MC needed water, so he created the perfect setup himself. He waved his hand, guiding the water's flow toward the monster. Then, in a flash, he activated his Aquastride, zipping through the stream and appearing behind the creature. At the last second, he delivered a devastating blow, slamming the monster into the ground. Standing over it with a serious expression, he muttered, "Just in time." Ji-chang stared in shock, about to ask something, but MC cut him off. "Take the girl and run. I'll handle this." Ji-chang nodded, scooped up near, and took off. "I'll come back for you," he shouted. MC looked down at the dust swirling around him, wondering, where did this thing even come from? As the dust cleared, the monster was gone. Suddenly, it charged from the side, swinging a claw. MC reacted just in time, raising his arms to block the strike. He winced. "It's strong!" The monster launched a flurry of attacks. MC dodged, leaping back. "This is my chance." He drove his fist into the monster's face and shouted, "Die!" At that moment, Ji-chang and Libo returned, shouting the Shui's name. MC grabbed its injured arm and thought, "I have to pin it down first." To his teammates, he called out, "Don't just swing randomly, aim for the joints." They charged in and stabbed the monster from behind. It roared in agony, lifting its head and shrieking into the sky. MC stood firm. "Do you want to kill me that badly?" He knew it wasn't enough yet. With a roar, he kicked the monster in the face, sending it flying. Then he pointed toward it. "Away! Go!" His centipede pet shot forward at blinding speed, piercing the monster's neck. MC smirked. "That poison will eat you alive." The beast began to tremble violently. The villagers stood frozen, watching. Suddenly, the monster spotted the villagers and charged. MC grabbed a wooden stake nearby. "Don't even think about it." He hurled the stake, striking the knife already embedded in the monster's back. The monster stumbled sideways. MC sprinted after it and kicked the stake hard, sending another wave of pain through its body. Though injured, the monster still spoke. It called out his name and muttered something strange. "Immortality." The villagers gasped. Did it just speak? Is this the river god's punishment? Ji-chang frowned. The villagers are starting to panic. Libo added, "If this keeps up, we can forget about peace." But MC turned to them, eyes calm. "You're wrong." He raised his dagger. "This isn't a curse. It's a gift." With a swift motion, he cut off the monster's head. He held it up to the crowd. "A perfect offering to the river god." A system notification appeared. "You have made a sacrifice to Lord Huai of the pool." River's favor increased by 0.0001. Later that morning, in the village ritual square, Shui sat on a bench while the villagers gathered around the body of the slain monster. He thought to himself, if I hadn't broken through the skin barrier, if I hadn't eaten that mushroom to boost my fusion rate, or used Awei's poison, I wouldn't have survived. He had truly become stronger. And for the first time, he had received a bit of the river's favor, something that could help him grow even more. But still, something felt off. Why did I receive so little? He wondered. Just then, Chief of the village approached and called his name. "I brought a doctor to look at you," he said. Shui removed his shirt, revealing his injuries. The doctor raised his eyebrows. "You've got quite the figure. Long arms like a monkey, a narrow waist like a wasp." Liang gave a half smile. "Thanks, but you should probably look at the wound instead." The doctor treated him and began bandaging the injury. While doing so, he noticed Shui's clothes. "What kind of material is this?" he asked curiously. Shui glanced at the garments lying beside him. "The cape was a gift from my second brother, made from bear skin, tough as steel. The dress? From my 8th brother, woven from heavenly silk." The doctor nodded, impressed. Still not enough protection, though. Judging by the depth of the wound, you've broken through your skin barrier, haven't you? That caught the villagers' attention. Murmurs spread as they turned to look at Ah Shui. With a slightly shy smile, he pulled his shirt back on and confirmed, "Yeah, I guess I have." Pride filled the square. The villagers began to cheer for him. Libo looked at him and said, "He has become a true warrior, and it only took you a few months." Jichang, on the other hand, looked away, hiding a flash of disappointment. "I still can't catch up to him," he thought. Guangtian, watching from the crowd, had a different worry. "He's gotten too strong. He wouldn't come after me, would he?" Then, the chief asked, "What kind of monster was that anyway?" A villager nearby answered, "That's what everyone wants to know." Ah Shui glanced at the monster's remains. It was a mountain demon. They feed on blood. This one must have come because of the crowd. I'm not sure if there are more roaming around Yixing, but this definitely wasn't the first one. Someone looked closely at the monster's head and hesitated. "Doesn't it look familiar?" "Kind of looks like Lai Tojang." Others leaned in, shocked. "He's right, it does. What happened to him?" Ah Shui froze. He clenched his fists. "I should have known. They're raising mountain demons." He called the village chief over. "This is serious. I need to report everything to my teacher." The villagers were right. This monster used to be Lai Tojang, and someone would have to answer for that. Later, he arrived at the palace. Shushi greeted him. "What brings you here?" He bowed and replied, "I have urgent business with my teacher." They walked through the courtyard, and he spoke confidently. "I believe the Fawa Temple incident is connected to the Zhao estate." Shushi chuckled. "So you figured it out. No wonder your teacher chose you." Surprised, he asked, "Wait, you already knew?" She smiled knowingly. "You're nervous. But don't forget who your teacher is, Yang Dongxiong, the only warrior tiger of Pingyang." Meanwhile, at the entrance of the demon mother sect's stronghold, a group of disciples climbed the stairs. One of them heard a strange noise, turned around, and gasped in terror. "What is that?" Before anyone could react, a massive sword of energy descended from the sky. They stared up in horror as it came crashing down. A figure appeared above them. It was Yang Dongxiong. With a cold, commanding voice, he said, "You know who I am. I suggest you surrender now." A few days later, Ah Shui was training at night and said 2 days had already passed. His mistress told him to stay in the clan so he wouldn't mess up the teacher's plans. She even gave him 2,000 wen for daily needs. Also, thanks to a healing pill, most of his wounds had healed. The teacher believed the demon mother cult was planning a big attack on cultivators to steal potions. So, the mistress was keeping Ah Shui there to keep him safe. Suddenly, someone threw something at him, but he blocked it. He looked seriously toward where it came from and asked who it was. It was Huchi. He smiled slightly and said Ah Shui was sharp. Since he knew Ah Shui was in the clan, he guessed he'd be training here. Ah Shui asked if he had just returned. Huchi tossed him a staff and said he used a spear, right? He wanted to have a quick sparring match. Ah Shui smiled and said, if that was the case, he wouldn't hold back. He told Huchi to make the first move. Huchi smiled, tossed an orange in the air to distract him, and then struck. They quickly began trading blows with their staffs. Huchi thought Ah Shui had opened himself up and attacked, but Ah Shui leaned on his staff and kicked. Huchi dodged it just in time. Then Ah Shui let go of his staff, stepped on Huchi's weapon, and swung a punch. Huchi smiled and said it was a nice move. When they finished sparring, Huchi said it looked like Ah Shui had already broken through the skin barrier. Seeing how fast he improved, Huchi guessed he had a fate pattern. Ah Shui was surprised and asked what that was. Huchi said he would find out soon. The teacher would explain when the time was right. He held out his hand and said they should spar again. Ah Shui shook his hand and agreed. They started sparring again and kept going for a while. Eventually, Ah Shui got tired. Huchi said what Ah Shui had told him about Zhao Manor matched what he had found out too, but it all seemed too simple. He felt like someone left clues on purpose, though maybe he was overthinking it. Then Huchi handed him a book, saying that since he had passed the skin barrier, this book would help him. It was called the Bowing Power Technique, perfect for someone who had just advanced. Martial arts were split into two types, movement and power. Power techniques helped you control your chi and blood better. Huchi told him to study it and use it in their next match. Shui thanked him and asked why he was looking for him. Huchi said he had almost forgotten. Brother Lu sent him. Shui's weapon was ready. Meanwhile, in a dungeon where monsters were raised, a man in a black robe was pushing a group of captured people forward. Lin Guiyang looked at a young girl in the group and thought she was about the same age as his daughter. A man walking with them asked why he was standing still. Lord Wu was already waiting. They stopped in front of the monster's cage and told the Lord that all the materials were ready. In 3 days, they would be able to feed it. The Lord said that was great and told them to take good care of it, as it was very important. In another cage, people of all ages were locked up and looked very worried. One old man, lying weakly on the straw, started calling out to the young master. The scene changes to a story about a spiritual weapon that gets its power from the user's personality. Flashy warriors get powerful, destructive weapons. Calm people receive peaceful and balanced ones. Each weapon takes shape based on the soul of its user. Then, we move to a blacksmith's workshop. Brother Lu is pushing a metal ingot into a hot furnace. First step, burn the metal to give it strength. Second step, mix it with a red bird's feather to give it special power, a shadow that exists between illusion and reality, able to cut through darkness and complete deadly rituals. This is how spiritual weapons are made, by merging with the user's spirit. Lu tells Shui to step forward and finish the process using his spirit. Shui cuts his hand trying to tame the wild weapon. He pours his blood onto it, and suddenly a huge force bursts out, covering the room in flames. A phoenix rises from the fire. The two heroes are stunned. Brother Lu grabs the spear shaft and pushes it into the fire to mix it with the phoenix's power. The blade begins to shine, but the man gets angry as the weapon's spirit refuses the blood. Even in death, it remains stubborn. He puts more effort into merging the phoenix's power and goes too far. The spear pierces the stone furnace. Brother Lu tells the MC that weapon is ready. He's surprised by how heavy it is, 54 kilograms. He examines it closely and feels its magic. Now his training can begin. He pulls the spear out of the ground and takes a fighting stance. Fire energy spears fly around him. He feels deeply connected to the weapon, like they're sharing one heartbeat. His older brother suggests testing it on wooden targets. He agrees. Outside, he uses the weapon in a combo move. Each strike surprises him more. His brother praises the technique, but says his weapon needs a name. After thinking, Shui gives it a name, Fubo. From now on, every strike will carry a piece of his will. Suddenly his older brothers appear. Shui looks at Shu, trying to understand why he's there. They said they only came because their master told them to. While they were there, they started looking around and ended up in a room where they found some girls. While one of them was watching the girls, he overheard something that gave him a clue about where the Great Mother's hideout might be. At first, he thought about leaving, but then he changed his mind and decided to enjoy the place and the company of the girls for a while. After spending some time there, he finally got the information he wanted. The Great Mother's hideout was near the Fawa Temple. Now that he knew the location, they could plan an attack there. If the attack worked, they could complete the mission their master had given them. Looking at the main character, Brother Shu walked up and said that he seemed eager to fight, which meant he couldn't avoid being part of the big battles anymore. But before he could say more, Brother Lu showed up and stopped him from saying anything else to the hero. Then, we see the hero agreeing that he would go to the Fawa Temple the next day to find out more. The scene then cuts Ghost Mother Cult Hideout. Here, we see some people. One of them is Jung, who is walking toward his main experiment. Looking at it, he sees that his creation has reached its final stage. Now he is sure he will get everything he wants. As he looks at it, he realizes that if he hadn't turned into such a horrible creature, he probably would have left the experiment in his own room. But now, he asks his son to help him, to help his own father reach immortality. The scene shifts to the mountains near the Fawa Temple. A group of prisoners in chains stand surrounded by cult members. One man yells at a worker in anger, calling him useless. The people there are referred to as materials or ingredients. The worker nervously waves his hands, trying to calm him down. The cultist promises the man he can have fun with one of the girls, but if anything goes wrong, it's on him. Shui looks over the area that Big Brother Shu mentioned. He carefully checks the surroundings, searching for clues. They talk about how the master's pet, Black Fang, helped them find markings. Without their help, it would have been impossible. Suddenly, the Black Fang barks loudly. Brother Lu tells it to be quiet. Stealth is key. Shui looks around and wonders where Brother Shu went, but no one answers. He starts to worry. Just then, Brother Shu draws his bow and fires an arrow filled with powerful energy. The man trying to calm the cult leader is suddenly pulling the girl away. Suddenly, the arrow strikes, smashing through the wall and stopping the cult member. The girl is shocked by her sudden rescue. Another cult member sees this and starts yelling, "We are under attack! Everyone stay alert!" In the bushes, the team recognizes Shu's signal. It's time to move. The Black Fang and Brother Lu charge ahead, starting the first part of the plan. They run so fast it's like they're cutting through the wind. Brother Lu crashes through the gate in front of the shocked cultists and takes a battle stance. Steam and energy rise around him, shaking the ground. He stands alone, surrounded by enemies with blades and daggers. Shui freezes in awe at the power of the charging warrior. His eyes go wide, realizing how strong his allies are. His older brother Huchi pushes him forward. It's time to act. Every move has to be sharp and fast. Lu strikes first, punching straight through a cloaked enemy. Two more cultists try to stab him from behind, but two arrows with glowing yellow energy hit them in the back. Brother Lu thanks Brother Shu on the roof for saving him. Shu looks down, smiling, impressed with his skill. Now Shui shows up. He's already taken down two enemies with his new weapon Fubo. His other brother is there too, knocking out more cultists. The cult members try to trap the hero, keeping him from using his spear, but he outsmarts them with a special combo move, taking them down one by one. Even when three more charge at him, he kills them all in a single strike and rushes to help his brothers. Lu points toward a building, ordering Shui to find the hostages. His command is serious. Every second counts. Shui, holding his spear tightly. Saving the innocent is the first step to defeating the cult's base. In the underground base, the warriors prepare for battle. The sounds of weapons and footsteps echo through the tunnel. A man in the cloak quietly says his suffering is ending. His eyes are empty, like his soul is already gone. He remembers the dead bodies back at the temple, even children. Thinking of his daughter fills him with guilt. It's hard to breathe. A young cultist walks up to him, but he senses something is wrong too late. The grieving father gets up and slits the cultist's throat. He swears to save the families and blames Zhao Hongyuan and Zheng for the tragedy. His fists shake with anger. Meanwhile, Zheng scolds a cult member and questions how just 4 pupils of Yongdong Xiang's group are overpowering them. Zheng orders them to release the mountain ghosts and spread them across the hill. It's a risky move, meant to create chaos and shield their actions. The cult member instantly nods his head in fear. Zheng thinks to himself that it could be a trap by Master Zhao Hongyuan because of all people he was the one sent to clean up this mess. Zheng thinks about the tunnel. He knows now he's just a pawn in someone else's game. It's too late to run. All he can do is fight. He thinks about his monster son and realizes this may be his chance. Zheng decides to take the underground path and strike back. It's a dangerous plan, but it's his only option. The scene returns to the group. They've finished clearing out the last of the enemies in the area. Now that it's done, they start wondering where the MC has gone. Brother Hu mentions that he went ahead to rescue the remaining hostages who were still trapped inside. Brother Lu looks around, confident he can wrap everything up quickly. But something bothers him. The air feels thick with blood, like something dangerous is still nearby, waiting for the right moment to strike. Meanwhile, we see our MC, Shui, walking through the forest. His beast companion, Black Fang, is leading the way, guiding him toward people who need help. As they keep moving, they come across a tunnel. MC wonders what kind of place this is, but notices that Black Fang seems to be sensing something dark inside. Feeling this too, MC puts his hand on the tunnel door, which slowly opens. But as soon as it does, it shuts again behind them. They now find themselves inside the tunnel. Suddenly, the system activates. It tells the MC that if he completes this new mission, defeating mountain demons, he'll earn bonus rewards and his underwater attack power will increase. He'll also receive some rare items. MC is surprised. Could this be a hidden quest from the system? While he's thinking it over, Black Fang senses danger approaching. MC's focus shifts. Looking ahead, he sees them. Mountain ghosts. These were the same monsters that attacked the village before. But now, there are many of them. Still, he knows he has to fight. There's no backing out now. He prepares himself, energy starting to build around him. Thanks to Zed and his recent training, his body is much stronger, and his combat skills have improved a lot. One of the demons lunges at him. With a quick kick, he slams it into the wall. The system records the kill. That's one down. He grabs his spear and throws it at another monster, piercing it cleanly. That's two. He takes down another, then another, and another. The system keeps counting. The battle keeps going. Eventually, he stands over the last demon. He's breathing heavily, clearly exhausted, but it's not over yet. A second wave is coming. As he prepares for more, several other demons rush him. One leaps at him. He knocks it aside and spears it from a distance. Then he moves toward the door but is blocked by two more. Before they can land a hit, he spins and takes both of them down in a single move. The system announces he has taken out 31 monsters. It looks like the fight is over, and MC gets ready to leave, but he suddenly feels a presence behind him. He turns and sees Jung. Jung greets Shui with a surprised look. He can't believe what he's seeing. The guy who used to smell like fish every day is now doing things no one expected. Jung smiles and says he has a surprise. He tells someone to come out, and it's Lu Jung-san. Jung introduces him, saying he's the father of one of Shui's senior brothers. He personally came to try to rescue Lu. Shui looks at him and realizes this is brother Lu's father. He suddenly turns serious and tells Zheng that his senior brothers are close by, and that Zheng's time is almost up. It's better for him to give up now. But Zheng just grins. Suddenly, a wall behind Shui explodes. From the rubble, a huge monster emerges, much bigger than the ones from the village. It's the creature Zheng had been secretly raising. Zheng shouts for the monster to attack. This is it. He tells it to take down Shui now. Outside, we see the other three who have just finished dealing with the monsters nearby. Now they're rushing toward our MC, Shui. As they run, Brother Lu says there are some low-level mountain demons in the area, so the MC should be fine if he runs into them. But he also worries that something much stronger could appear. The scene shifts to Shui. Things have always been tough for him since being reborn in this world. But today is even worse. Looking at the size and power of the monster in front of him, it seems like this mountain spirit is close to the galloping horse realm in strength. Dark thoughts cross his mind. What if he gives up? But he quickly shakes that off. He grabs his spear. Just then, the monster rises and charges at him. At that moment, MC remembers his past life, trapped in a wheelchair. He says to himself that not even his past could break him. If he didn't fear that, he won't fear this. There's no point in running. He charges forward, and the monster comes at him too. It throws multiple punches, but most miss. Still, one lands hard, sending Shui flying. As he crashes back, the monster sprints toward him, raising its fist for another attack. Meanwhile, Zheng watches from a distance, stunned by how much Shui has improved in just 6 months. He still orders the monster to finish it now. Shui gets ready, raising his spear. He thrusts it forward and it hits the monster, but it's not enough. The monster strikes back, slamming Shui into the wall. He falls, injured. Zheng laughs at the sight. He mocks Shui, asking how he plans to survive now. Lying on the ground, Shui struggles to rise. But he suddenly senses that something inside him has changed. A system notification appears, telling him he earned favor from the Riverlord after defeating earlier enemies. It asks if he wants to fuse the spirit he received. There's no time to think. With death right in front of him, Shui agrees. The moment he chooses to fuse, his body is transported into another realm. He can't move or even turn his head. Then, something begins to form in front of him. A presence. This figure begins to chant, calling on a divine being, a sovereign god. Shui wonders who that could be. Then, it hits him. He's in the body of the Riverlord. The Riverlord begins to speak in poetry, saying he broke ancient rules. He calls for surrender. But another figure, a dragon, refuses. It charges forward. With no choice left, the Riverlord prepares his ultimate technique, dragon severing. He unleashes the attack, and just before it hits, the scene cuts back to the real world. We return to Jung, who's still laughing. He tells Shui that he came all the way here just to die. All he ever wanted was to live, while others were born lucky. All Jung has is his son. This monster. So he orders his son to strike. The monster steps forward, winding up a punch aimed upward. But at that exact moment, Shui's eyes begin to glow. Then, the ground starts to crack. A massive shockwave erupts, pushing both Jung and the monster back. Jung stares in shock, asking what just happened. And in the middle of it all, Shui rises to his feet, eyes still glowing, calmly staring them down. To understand what's happening now, we need to go back a little into the past. We see our protagonist training with his master. During the session, he asks a question. How strong are the Forge and Transcendent realms? His master replies honestly, no one knows. No one has ever seen someone reach that level in today's world. Now, we return to the present, where our hero has finally reached that legendary level others only dream of. Out of nowhere, he lifts his fingers, and suddenly, a bright glow begins to shine. Master Jung, who had been smiling confidently, suddenly looks confused. He finds himself in another dimension. It's like he's facing a spirit, something not from this world. In that moment, Jung yells for the monster to attack. The monster charges forward, but our hero stays calm. As the creature rushes at him, the MC slowly grabs his spear and spins it in one hand. The monster doesn't seem to understand what's happening. Jung, watching closely, grins, thinking the MC's attack failed. But then, something strange happens. The monster begins to melt. Jung stares in shock, unable to make sense of it. His son, in the form of that monster, turns and starts running toward him. It looks like he wants to say goodbye, but before he reaches his father, he vanishes. With the monster gone, Jung returns to reality. He stands there, empty. Everything is gone. The strongest creation he ever had is lost. His son, his hope, everything. Because of the MC. In front of him lies Shui, collapsed from sheer exhaustion. It's clear the fight pushed him beyond his limits. Jung, filled with rage and grief, wants to kill him. But just as he's about to act, an explosion sounds nearby. The MC's senior brothers have arrived. They finally made it to the secret chamber. They rush forward and find Shui lying on the ground, barely conscious. They're shocked to see him like this and immediately go to help. Looking at his condition, they realize he must have fought a powerful enemy here. Meanwhile, Jung is furious. Everything he planned is falling apart. But as the brothers focus on helping Shui, Jung sees a chance to escape. He moves toward a hidden exit. Just as he's about to make a run for it, a voice calls his name. He turns around to see a hooded figure, cult member Lin, standing behind him, filled with rage. Lin demands to know where his family is. Jung tells him to lower his voice. He claims he's in charge of everything here. But Lin doesn't care. He grabs Jung by the throat and asks again, "Where is my family?" Jung just smirks and cruelly says, "Maybe that mountain demon ate them." Lin's fury explodes. He pulls out his sword and without another word, slices Jung's throat. Jung drops to the ground. As Lin walks away, he says one thing. There's still a chance. Maybe his family is alive. And with that, he disappears into the shadows. As he slowly walks away, the scene smoothly shifts to a different location. Shui groans as he stretches his arms and legs, saying that every part of his body aches. It feels like his bones have been pulled apart and put back together the wrong way, like he had been broken piece by piece. While he's complaining about the pain, a strange image flashes through his mind. He remembers the Riverlord from the dream he had earlier. The memory feels vivid, and for a moment, he can still see the Riverlord glaring at him with glowing, threatening eyes, full of power and mystery. Just as things start to feel intense, our main character suddenly jolts awake. When he wakes up, he's confused and disoriented. Nothing around him makes much sense. But the one thing he clearly knows is that he's now lying in his master's room. He looks around, still a bit dazed, and tries to piece everything together. Just moments ago, he had been locked in a fierce battle against that terrifying mountain ghost. Then everything went dark. He must have fainted. It now seems that right after he collapsed, his senior brothers carried him here to safety. At that moment, the system suddenly appears before him, announcing that the fusion with the Riverlord's spirit is now complete. Thanks to that fusion, he has earned rewards. As he processes the information, it starts to make sense. This reward is probably for defeating the mountain ghosts during that intense fight. He hadn't expected that Z's spirit could actually merge with a being as strong and legendary as a sovereign lord. Now he begins to wonder, has this given him a massive boost in his martial arts skills? It definitely feels like his talent has greatly increased, maybe even doubled. He grips his spear and can now sense the strong aura radiating from it, something he hadn't noticed before. This sensation makes him think that he may already be entering the next stage of his martial cultivation. What really catches him off guard is how fast he's progressing. It hasn't even been 2 full months since he began this path, and now, somehow, he has reached the second major barrier. Looking back, he realizes that this might actually be the opportunity, the rare chance, that Zed gave him. Just as he's deep in thought, the door swings open, and his senior brothers walk in. They're smiling, cheering, and clearly relieved to see him standing with full energy. Our main character quickly turns around and warmly greets them. The brothers explain that they came to see how he was doing and to ask about what really happened inside the chamber. Shui tells them that after defeating the final mountain ghost, one that was being led by Jung, he collapsed dramatically. He notices that the older brothers don't seem to know about the even stronger ghost he encountered, so he keeps that detail to himself for now. Brother Shu, however, adds something unexpected. He says Jung was found dead at the scene. Hearing this shocks Shui. If Jung is dead, it means someone else must have been nearby, watching the whole thing from the shadows. But if that person wasn't from Zhao Manor, then why didn't they step in to help him during the battle? The mystery leaves him feeling uneasy. Brother Hu then tells Shui not to worry. He'll report everything to their master, so Shui can take it easy and rest for now. Then, as if to change the topic, he says something surprising. The renovation of Shui's house is nearly finished. This news completely surprises Shui. He didn't even know there was any renovation happening. When he arrives at the location, he's stunned. His jaw drops as he sees a brand new mansion standing where his old home used to be. The people working on the house recognize him right away and seem genuinely happy to see him back. Lu Quanf walks up and proudly asks what Shui thinks of the new mansion. He respectfully calls him Master Liang. But Shui quickly and kindly asks him not to use that title. He says to just call him Shui like before, since Liu Quan is older and they've known each other for a long time. Just then, the village chief appears. He steps forward with a kind smile and explains that the 2-courtyard mansion is the villagers' way of showing gratitude. It's a gift for saving them from the terrifying monster. Everyone in the village had chipped in, giving what they could, and even raised some extra money to thank Shui. When the chief offers him the money, Shui gently refuses. Instead, he suggests they use the money to pay fair wages to all the workers building the house, and also to give them 2 meals a day, as thanks for their efforts. Hearing this, the builders burst into cheers. They shout that Shui is righteous, generous, and truly admirable. Their praise makes him feel shy and a little embarrassed, so he quickly changes the topic. He turns to the village chief, his grandfather, and asks about the current condition of the village. The chief replies with a smile that, thanks to Shui's efforts, the Yangdang Martial Academy has sent 2 third-boundary warriors to help guard the village. It's a huge help and a sign of great respect. But he also mentions that their presence feels a bit overwhelming. Their energy is intense and powerful, which has made the villagers a little nervous. Seeing all of this, Shui can't help but smile. He thinks to himself that if his father and the Riverlord could witness this moment, they would be filled with pride. Finally, the scene changes to the calm lake. Standing by the water, Shui remembers how his last boat was destroyed. Now, he'll need to buy a new one. But before he does that, he wants to test out the new abilities he gained after awakening Zed. Taking a deep breath, he steps forward, and to his amazement, his feet stay on the water's surface. He begins walking calmly across the lake, a symbol of how far he's come. The scene changes once again, pulling us into a darker, more intense moment. We now find Master Zhao down on his knees, his face full of fear and desperation. He looks up at his lord, his voice trembling as he asks what they should do next. Their main stronghold, the very heart of their operations, has been completely destroyed. And if that wasn't bad enough, Zheng, the steward he trusted most, the one who had been closest to him in rank and loyalty, was captured and then killed. To make matters worse, the disciples from the Yangdong Martial Academy have wiped out over 100 of their mountain ghosts. A massive loss. The Lord's expression darkens. Rage fills his eyes. He doesn't even wait for Zhao to finish speaking. With a sharp kick to Zhao's chest, he sends him crashing to the ground and yells furiously, accusing him of being useless and weak. "All you ever do is whine and complain," the Lord bellows. "We were just moments away from reaping everything we worked for, and now it's all destroyed." He stomps around angrily, fuming over the loss. Not only did they lose their fortified base, but they also lost precious resources. Herbs, spiritual stones, weapons, all gone. Still, Zhao reminds him softly that they have a few pill materials left. Not everything is lost, though it's a small consolation. The Lord glares at him, then after a moment of silence, makes a decision. He says they can't stay in this place any longer. It's no longer safe. He orders Zhao to prepare the boat at once. They're leaving immediately and heading back to the main cult base. Zhao, still on his knees, nods quickly and agrees without hesitation. "Yes, my lord," he says, bowing even lower as the Lord Envoy turns to leave. As the figure vanishes from sight, Zhao quietly mutters a thank you, though whether it's sincere or just habit is unclear. Zhao is now seen standing with his son. His son begins to speak, but Zhao suddenly interrupts him. He looks over to the side at a tall bare tree growing nearby. He tells his son that he planted that tree 5 years ago. Despite all the time that has passed, it has never once produced a single fruit. Not even one. His son looks confused. Zhao then asks him a strange question. "Do you know why I've kept this tree for all these years, even though it gives us nothing in return?" He doesn't wait for an answer. Zhao explains that even though the tree is barren, it still serves a purpose. Birds rest on its branches, animals gather around it, and it brings life in ways that aren't always obvious. It draws creatures in, quietly, without making a sound. Then, with a colder tone, Zhao brings up 2 names, Zheng and Lin. He looks at his son and calmly says that those 2 were always meant to be sacrificed. From the beginning, their role was never to win. It was to be devoured. This revelation stuns his son, who now realizes that Zheng's death wasn't a mistake. It was part of his father's plan all along. Zhao's expression grows grim. He says the Ghost Mother cult is falling apart. The end is near. He hands his son a box and tells him to find someone trustworthy, someone reliable, and make sure this box gets delivered to Shui. It's important. He adds one last thing. Tonight, we sail to Huangzhou. We leave all this behind. The chaos, the loss, the failure. As Zhao speaks these final words, the scene shifts again, bringing us to a very different atmosphere. We now see Shui walking through a bustling city street. People around him smile and wave. Some call out praises. A few people say he looks even more handsome in person. Others whisper about how he took down more than 100 mountain ghosts on his own. The attention is overwhelming, almost too much. Shui walks quietly, his thoughts swirling. He suspects this is probably the work of Brother Shu, spreading exaggerated stories. While he's still deep in thought, he suddenly hears familiar voices. All his senior brothers are gathered nearby and call out to him, waving him over excitedly. They tell him that the Zhao Manor has sent him something. Intrigued and curious, Ah Shui walks over to them. When he arrives, he sees a box waiting for him. He opens it carefully. Inside are several letters and some important documents. Deeds. The deeds alone are worth 2,300 taels of silver, sent as a form of apology from Zhao Manor. There are also small gifts for his companions. Zhao says he hopes to meet Ah Shui again someday, under different circumstances. But the most important item in the box is another letter. This one contains vital information. Detailed intelligence on the Ghost Mother cult. It includes their escape plans, routes, schedules, and contact information. It's everything they need to stop the cult for good. Brother Liu steps forward. He says he'll take the documents to their master and help work out a detailed strategy to block the cult's escape, step by step. The entire group shifts their focus. This may be their final chance to end the conflict once and for all. Just then, the story flashes back to something that happened 1 month ago. We're shown a quiet, touching scene. A man named Liu is seen carrying food in his hands. He walks quickly, worried that his wife might be hungry and waiting for him. He moves with care, balancing the food as he rushes forward. But just as he reaches the spot where she usually waits, danger strikes. Someone creeps up behind him, completely silent, and presses a knife to his throat. There's a flash of movement, a struggle. Surprisingly, Liu survives. Blood drips from a cut on his cheek, but the attacker is now lying unconscious or dead on the ground. Liu doesn't say a word. Without even checking the body, he picks up the food again and calmly continues on his way. His only concern is reaching his wife and their child, who are waiting for him.
At the quiet, wind-brushed shore, a lone sailor stands with his wife and young daughter, carrying a large bucket to collect water from the sea. The gentle waves lap against the sand, but the man's face carries none of the serenity of the setting. His expression is tight, anxious, weighed down by the grim knowledge that the final day of the appointment set by Envoy Huang exactly 1 month ago is now almost upon him. The deadline looms over him like a storm cloud, and yet despite knowing what is expected of him, his heart cannot summon the ruthless resolve required to kill his own wife and daughter for the cause he serves. Then, without warning, an eerie and unsettling voice echoes within his mind, smooth yet cold. It whispers to him, telling him that if he cannot carry out the act himself, then he should allow it to take over, to seize the opportunity and grant them a so-called peaceful rest. The suggestion slithers through his thoughts like a poisonous snake. His body stiffens, his jaw clenches, and he snaps in anger at the disembodied voice, ordering it to remain locked away where it belongs. Yet deep inside, he knows the truth. The voice and he are bound together in a way that is now almost impossible to separate. When he glances down at the water's surface, hoping perhaps for a moment of grounding clarity, the sight that greets him makes his skin crawl. Instead of his own reflection, the rippling seawater shows the looming silhouette of a shadow, a shape that does not belong to him at all. At that moment, Ah Shui arrives at the shore, accompanied by his senior brother. The two approach with casual familiarity, asking the sailor whether he is available to provide his usual services today. The sailor, masking his inner turmoil, gives a brief nod and agrees, and the three of them set off together. Ah Shui, however, keeps his true intentions tucked away, holding himself back and biding his time. He waits for the right moment, anticipating the inevitable confrontation with the Ghost Mother sex cultists. Yet, before Ah Shui can act, his senior brother abruptly breaks the calm. Without preamble, he coldly tells the sailor that he should be utterly disgusted with himself, for he has taken the place of the real sailor and now lives with the man's wife and child as though they were his own. The accusation slices through the air like a blade. The sailor stiffens and tries to brush aside the topic with feigned indifference, but his senior brother steps closer, voice low and sharp, threatening to strip the very skin from his body if he refuses to tell the truth. The sailor's composure begins to crack. His breathing grows uneven and his hand trembles. He had hoped to hold out for just 1 more day, to delay the appointed task and spare himself from having to kill his family. But now, with his deception exposed, he knows that there is no longer any choice. His eyes darken with grim resolve as he draws his weapon. Ah Shui's gaze sharpens instantly. He recognizes the sailor's transformation into the horse galloping stage form. Without hesitation, he joins his senior brother, moving in perfect coordination to engage their opponent. The sailor quickly realizes the disadvantage of being caught in a 2-against-1 battle, but fortune turns in his favor when, with a sudden splash, one of his allies bursts forth from the depths of the sea, his presence immediately shifting the balance. Before Ah Shui can properly react, the newcomer seizes him and drags him deep beneath the ocean's surface. The sailor takes this chance, surging towards senior brother with renewed aggression, taunting that the Ghost Mother Sect's guards are never alone. They move as light and shadow, each covering the other. He smirks with confidence, declaring that if senior brother cannot finish him within 5 minutes, his fellow guard will kill Ah Shui beneath the waves with deadly underwater assassination techniques. The underwater guard, equally assured of his skill, assumes that Ah Shui's lungs must have already ruptured under the crushing pressure of the deep. But his confidence shatters when, without warning, he is yanked violently upward, his own chains coiling around him like a serpent, before slamming him into the seabed with bone-rattling force. Ah Shui's voice is calm, yet edged with satisfaction as he thanks the guard for giving him the perfect chance to test his abilities after raising his fusion level to 70%. With that, the tide of battle reverses completely, and in the watery depths, it is Ah Shui, not his opponent, who now holds absolute dominance. The guard struggles, straining against the overwhelming pressure, finally forced to abandon the arrogant belief that the sea would always remain his home turf. The sailor's guard believed that gods doesn't exist in this world because no one saved the guards from horrible pain. No one heard the guards' prayers while they fought for survival. It is believed that only those close to death can witness the gods. Back in the present, the guard is in disbelief of Ah Shui's strength underwater, but he is still confident in his speed, so he uses that to aim for a way to kill Ah Shui instantly. The guard confidently lunges at him, but is met with an instant reversal punch called Water Traverse. Ah Shui became invisible for an instant before landing the punch and made the guard bleed. The guard was sure that his galloping horse stage was enough, but Ah Shui's quick and strong movements are able to easily reel him in and attack him with enough force to crumble the ground underwater. Ah Shui is sure that he is able to deal with the galloping horse guards underwater without breaking a sweat, so he should hurry up to the boat and check up on how senior brother is doing. While the guard lays in the crater in his last moments, he realizes that his big brother was right when he told him that one witnesses gods in his last moments. However, in this case, it is Ah Shui ascending the ocean with his familiars. Back on the boat, the sailor gets absolutely manhandled by the senior brother, but his arrogance doesn't fade. He gets shoved down, with his mask shredded, but still tries to threaten the senior brother with Ah Shui's life underwater. The senior brother worries, his face tensed up, but Ah Shui manages to come out of the water at the right time, as he barely crawls up the boat. Both the sailor and the senior brother is surprised to see him, but Ah Shui hides the fact that he killed the guard by saying that he got eaten by a giant water monster. For some reason, he pretends to be out of stamina and unable to move. The familiar with him comes out to the surface, making what Ah Shui claims the truth, which also convinces the senior brother and the sailor. With this fight settled, and the sailor demotivated to continue the fight, they call the guards to take him away. The human skin of the sailor sheds, revealing the ugly monster inside. He looks back at his wife and daughter one last time, but the wife stares back with murderous intent while the daughter clings on to her. Ah Shui claims that these cultists from the Ghost Mother sect are not very strong, so the senior brother informs him that it is a very broken generation. A martial artist at the tiger hunting stage can live up to 120 years, while the immortal stage can live even longer than that. Now that it has been 60 years since the great Qian fell, the oldest generation can still live. Those younger than them can barely hang on, but the middle generation is already dead. Immortal stage veterans are not easy to find these days, since they don't come out. Senior brother's point is that the ones, like this sailor, aren't what holds the Ghost Mother sect together, but the scary, elite ones that come out of the Ghost Mother sect. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Ghost Mother sect, after 40 years of joining the sect, expanding it through branches and gaining followers, the old man taking a stroll found the blood sacrifice grand technique. He knows that the sect lacks in talent, and new potential needs to arrive soon. He brings out a pill called the Wolf Smoke Great Pill, as his last hope. His celebrations get interrupted by a huge log flying through the main door, aimed at him. He manages to pulverize the log at the last second and finds two young individuals looking for him as they call out the name Lu Gang of the Yang clan Martial Hall. Lu Gang punches the old man with his full power and sends him crashing into a wall. That brief exchange told Lu Gang that this man is at least a mid-level smoke wolf wielder, a level above his own, so he has to decide this battle as quickly as possible. Shui stresses about the fact that the old man took Lu Gang's punch without even a scratch, and then the old man himself prepares to kill the two of them right here. If that was the strongest attack Lu Gang could throw at him. The old man charges up and brings out his chi force. Lu Gang quickly uses telekinesis to control nearby objects, and throws them at the old man, but he is able to easily deflect them. Suddenly, Lu Gang's partner fires a small arrow at the old man, which should be unable to even bypass his chi force, but the partner had tweaked the arrow to spit out smoke that gets into the old man's eyes. Using this opening, the Lu Gang leaps towards the old man and strikes him dead on. The impact causes a huge smoke screen, causing Lu Gang to be unsure of what happened. The smoke clears, and the old man lies on the ground with blood gushing out his mouth. He curses Zhao Hongyuan for revealing his secrets to Lu Gang and his partner, which they used to come up with strategies against him. He finally brings out the pill again, ready to kill the two of them once and for all. However, he takes too long, and the partner uses that instance to shoot the pill out of existence with his arrow. Lu Gang tells the old man to give up, but he is merely amused that Zhao Hongyuan revealed even this to them, so he used that to create a decoy pill, while he has the real one in his mouth. The two of them freeze in place, thinking back at the moment the old man swallowed the pill, and now they are too late. The old man slowly gets up from the ground and releases immense amount of chi that completely transforms him into a different kind of monster. His body changes shape, much more sturdier and evil, as he challenges Lu Gang and his partner to withstand the power of late-stage wolf smoke. As the chaotic battle rages on, Senior Brother and Shui make their way through the narrow streets until they arrive within sight of the Zhao residence. The clatter of hooves echoes against the surrounding walls as they push their horses to their limit. Without wasting a moment, they swing down from their saddles, boots hitting the ground in unison, and break into a sprint toward the sound of clashing blows. The closer they get, the heavier the air becomes, as though the very space around the residence is thick with unseen weight. A sudden surge of ominous, suffocating aura sweeps out from the compound, washing over them like a cold tide. Senior Brother's eyes narrow instantly, his instincts flaring in warning. He recognizes this malevolent presence for what it is, a sign that Lu Gang and his partner are in immediate danger. Inside the building, the fight is already a whirlwind of destruction. Furniture splinters under stray strikes, and the walls tremble with each exchange. The old man moves like a phantom, his attacks relentless and unpredictable, forcing Lu Gang and his partner to twist, duck, and sidestep at the very last moment to avoid fatal blows. The sharp edge of tension in the air makes every breath feel urgent. Through gritted teeth, Lu Gang voices his disgust at the enemy's form, the unsettling way these cultists seem trapped in a state between human and ghost. The old man, unfazed, advances with an unnerving calm, a faint glint of amusement in his eye. His voice is cold and cutting as he calls them hypocrites, mocking their supposed nobility. He reminds them of an old truth, that the remnants of the former dynasty's cultists were never meant to belong entirely to the realm of men or to that of spirits. His words seem to dredge up echoes of history, of a time when villagers abandoned their homes in panic, when fathers and brothers stood desperately in the doorways of their houses, trying in vain to shield their families from the devastation brought by those who sought to erase the last traces of the old order. The old man, whose true name in those days was Vire, was among the few who managed to flee. He escaped with his mother, surviving where so many did not. When her time eventually came, she left him with a single wish, that he should live on in her stead. Vire carried that command like a torch through the darkness of his life. Eventually, he pledged himself wholly to the Holy Mother of their sect. His devotion, combined with his ruthlessness, earned him notice among the cultists, and when the time came to compete for a place as a disciple, he did not hesitate to kill his rivals. His new master saw potential in his cruelty and gave him a new name, Huang Zejun. Now, that same Huang Zejun tears through the Zhao residence with devastating force, his strikes and Lu Gang's counters shaking the building to its very foundation. The clash between them sends shockwaves through the air, scattering debris with every collision. In the midst of this chaos, Lu Gang's partner struggles to find a clear shot. The sheer ferocity of the fight leaves no safe angle, and each movement threatens to turn his aim into a fatal mistake for his ally. Then, through the din, he hears his name being called. He glances toward the shattered wall and sees Shui and Senior Brother arriving at last, urgency written across their faces. Without needing to be asked twice, the partner quickly explains his difficulty. Senior brother steps forward without hesitation, slipping into position with the ease of someone born for moments like this. He raises his bow, already sighting along the path of the battle. Shui, however, finds himself momentarily frozen, his attention consumed by the sheer intensity of what he's witnessing. A battle between fighters of the wolf smoke stage, each blow carrying lethal weight. Lu Gong, still matching Huang Zejun's pace, knows in his gut that he cannot keep this up for much longer. His breathing deepens as his eyes search for an opening, anything the junior brothers could exploit. Then, there it is, the faint shimmer of a vulnerable spot, the heart on Huang Zejun's chest exposed for the briefest moment. Lu Gong moves to strike, but before he can act, the sharp whistle of an arrow cuts through the air. It flashes past him and hits the target dead on. The precision of the shot tells Lu Gong immediately that this arrow is not his partner's work. He turns and spots senior brother, bow still raised, expression unreadable. Huang Zejun snarls in response, his voice thick with irritation as he declares that mere arrows cannot pierce his chi force. But what he fails to grasp is that the arrow was never meant to kill him, only to draw his attention and create the perfect opening. Seizing the moment, Lu Gong channels his chi into his fist. Power hums along his arm, gathering until it feels like it could split stone. With a sharp exhale, he drives his punch straight into Huang Zejun's chest. The impact lands like a thunderclap, spiderweb cracks spreading across the protective chi force he takes such pride in. Before Huang Zejun can recover, senior brother's bowstring sings again. This time, he pours his own chi into the arrow, the energy surging along its shaft until it glows faintly. With flawless aim, he releases it, sending it streaking toward the very point where Lu Gong's strike had fractured the barrier. During his years as a disciple under the guidance, or perhaps the control, of the cultist, Huang Zejun once asked his master a question that had long been on his mind. He wanted to know the reason why they never lived under the open sun, why they kept to the shadows as if the daylight itself was forbidden. His master, with a voice heavy from the weight of memory, explained that they were the remnants of an era long gone. In this new age, they were seen as an anomaly, something out of place because an object, something precious and deeply important to them, had been stolen by another. That theft had altered the course of their fate, stripping them of their place in the world. With a face that burned with long-nursed hatred, his master swore that one day he would take back what was stolen and exact revenge upon those responsible. Yet fate proved cruel. Neither the master nor Huang Zejun himself would ever live to see that oath fulfilled. In the present, the string of a bow thrums, and senior brother's arrow pierces Huang Zejun's chest directly at the place where his heart lies. The impact is devastating, a wound that should, by all accounts, be fatal. Huang Zejun staggers, blood spilling from his mouth in a heavy, wet cough. Shui watches closely, piecing the situation together. He realizes now that the first arrow fired earlier by senior brother had been intentionally restrained, infused with almost no power. It had been nothing more than a decoy, meant to trick Huang Zejun into thinking it was a casual shot from Lu Gong's partner, lulling him into a false sense of security. The second arrow, however, was nothing like the first. This one carried the full force of the galloping horse stage, a level of power capable of completely overpowering someone of Huang Zejun's caliber. Without wasting a moment, Lu Gong gives a sharp order to his companions. The three of them must bind the old man immediately using the blue steel chain, a chain crafted specifically for martial artists who had reached the formidable wolf smoke stage. Such individuals were notoriously difficult to kill. Even a pierced heart might not be enough to end their lives. This knowledge sends a faint shiver down Shui's spine, making him all the more wary of the wounded cultist before him. But senior brother simply pats Shui on the shoulder, his tone calm yet steady, telling him to take it easy. With an almost casual air, senior brother remarks that cultists like Huang Zejun enjoy lingering in that unsettling space between ghost and human. At these words, Huang Zejun's composure cracks, his face twisting in fury. His voice rises, choked with emotion, as he begins to rant about his own life, how, in his previous existence, he had never been able to live under the sun's warmth. His tone grows bitter, accusing the world of forcing him to crawl through heaps of corpses just to survive. The only thing he had ever wanted, he claims, was to exist where sunlight could touch his skin. To him, the pain of such a life is something ordinary humans could never comprehend. Senior brother steps forward, his figure looming over the frail yet dangerous old man, His voice is like a steel edge as he tells Huang Zejun that no tragic past, no matter how cruel, can justify committing evil in the present. With cold precision, he lists the crimes Huang Zejun has committed, shattering families, slaughtering children, leaving countless orphans to wander the world without protection. In one swift motion, senior brother grips the old man's throat with a fierce strength, eyes blazing with fury. His words drip with contempt as he tells Huang Zejun not to dress up his selfish cravings as some noble or glorious purpose. Then, his threat grows darker. He says he will rip out the old man's heart and toss it to the dogs, then methodically break each limb in his body until nothing remains but a heap of broken flesh. Even Ah Shui feels uneasy at the sheer venom in the tone, prompting him to glance toward Lu Gong and quietly ask him to calm senior brother down. Lu Gong explains in a low voice that senior brother's anger is not without cause. He himself is an orphan because of the Ghost Mother sect, the same group that wiped out his village and everything he once had. The explanation makes Ah Shui understand the raw, personal nature of his fury. Finally, Lu Gong steps forward, placing himself between them and telling senior brother to let it go. The old man, he reminds him, must be sent alive to the martial hall. Senior brother relents, though a faint edge of annoyance still lingers in his expression. Seeing this, Lu Gong offers him a drink as a small treat to cool his temper, and his partner chimes in, offering to display his self-proclaimed mediocre skills for a bit of light-hearted entertainment. Senior brother seems to suffocate under the sudden wave of what feels like excessive care and camaraderie. But to Ah Shui, the sight is almost strange, alien even. He finds himself quietly pleased, warmed by this show of brotherly affection, something absent even in the life he lived before. Noticing him, Lu Gong turns and extends the invitation to join them for drinks as well. Ah Shui's answer comes quickly and without hesitation. He gladly agrees. In a cave under the ocean, one of Ah Shui's fishes called Afe is in deep slumber. It keeps hold of a golden claw underneath its fin and suddenly wakes up worried when it dreams of Ah Shui glaring at it. The fish takes a deep sigh and rubs its eyes to fully wake up. Then, it grabs its bag and wears it, checks itself in the mirror, and leaves the cave after being satisfied with how it looks. Full of energy, and thinking it is the main character, the fish goes out on a hunt. It spots a bright red fish and locks its target. The red fish spots Afe speeding towards it with a mean look, determined to catch it, but the red fish manages to avoid Afe at the last moment. Afe crashes into a nearby rock and faints on the ground, while the red fish swims away. Afe gets mad at its failed attempt, but then it remembers Ah Shui's lesson about hunting. Never transform too randomly, because people from Hebo's office can catch on quickly. Afe lets out a huge sigh and then thinks of a new strategy, which is when it remembers Ah Shui's advice. He suggests using one's brain, rather than just strength all the time. With this, Afe gets a bright idea as it high-fives itself with confidence. The red fish swims peacefully across the ocean when it suddenly spots Afe in the corner of the eye. The strategy Afe came up with was to put on some lipstick and seduce the red fish into becoming its prey. Not only this strategy doesn't work, the red fish just walks away with the most terrifying sight imprinted in its brain, that even Afe figures out the thought that just crossed the poor fish's mind. Afe's friends, the crab and chili alligator, watch all of this unfold and laugh at the failed hunt. This makes Afe embarrassed, as it turns around with a defeated expression on its face. After they dealt with Huang Zejun, Ah Shui and the others received hard silver as reward from the mistress, which she got by exchanging the Zhao family's estate deed. 150 taels of refined silver, not the ordinary one. Ah Shui couldn't believe the treasure in his hands as he shows his gratitude towards the mistress. To sum it up, 1 tael of fine silver is slightly more valuable than regular silver. 1 ingot made up of 50 taels is equal to 52.4 taels in regular silver, which gives a bonus of 2.4 taels. 3 such ingots come in at a total of 157.2 taels. Senior brother and Lu Gong figure that Ah Shui has seen so much money for the first time. Not long after, Ah Shui and senior brother have traveled to mountains to eliminate spirits there, which has stabilized his strength. He feels that the day when he finally breaks through the flesh stage is very near. His training is interrupted when senior brother tells him about the master visiting them, with even more rewards for them. In the banquet, Huang Zejun curses the entire team, as they keep him tied up. Senior brother feels uncomfortable to eat food while 2 criminals shout slurs at them. He also expresses his concerns about another blue-hair senior joining them for the meal, even though he didn't help them out during the battle. The blue-hair senior reminds him that he was dispatched to another mission at the time. With the generous meal in front of him, Shui praises the mistress's diligence in preparations. Lu Gong tells Shui that the mistress's surname Shu is actually a prominent name in Huangzhou. During the time of the great ancestor, plenty of ministers and a grand secretary came from her lineage. Their master and his wife were a match made by the Grand Marshal Shu. The mistress's father is the imperial banquet master and a third-rank official, Shu Rongguang. The blue-hair senior figures that their master marrying the mistress will reduce her status, so Lu Gong tells him to be careful about saying such things. The master and the mistress arrive, and they both present their congratulations to the team. He states that Huang Zejun will be sent to the authorities in the afternoon. Huang Zejun uses his sex numbers and secrets to threaten the master, telling him to be wary of his inevitable demise. The master shuts his threats down by calling his organization a backwards system that doesn't understand sustainability, and reminds Huang Zejun that he is only alive because there is some use for him right now, or else he would be dead. The master then turns towards his students to address their award ceremony, and something special for Shui, a package sent by his senior brother which the master personally delivered to him. Somewhere else, a bunch of juniors praise Shui's senior brother for taking down a late wolf stage general by himself, but he refuses to accept the rare item that he received after winning. The juniors expect him to give one of them the item, but he brushes their requests and offers to pay for everyone's drinks instead, which excites the lot of them just as much. He wonders if Shui would like the gift. Back in his room, Shui opens the box and finds a spiritual weapon in it. Every spiritual weapon is one of a kind, and their unique trait of developing alongside their master grants them an unrivaled status in the world of weapons. For an ordinary master, possessing one spiritual weapon is a sign of great luck. The materials used to craft these weapons, and the masters that possess the skill to do so, are both very rare. Fortunately for Shui, he owns two spiritual weapons now, this one called the Azure Wolf. Using this weapon, he can now overcome his weakness in close combat, and now no environment can restrict him in battle. He steps out in the pavilion ready to attend classes again, since taking care of the mountain spirits has made him miss quite a few. He reaches the academy and hears someone reciting the phonetic system. Suddenly, his teacher Si Hung-yi greets him from behind. Shui feels embarrassed for ditching class, but Si Hung-yi understands how busy he was. The sensei Si takes him to the dean because they have improved the phonetic system. The dean is the master or the principal of the academy. Inside the academy pavilion, the dean, Zhao Jishu, meets with Shui and praises the phonetic system that he came up with. Shui greets the old man and then sits at the table to review the improved version which the dean and his sensei came up with. This new version has 63 sounds, reduced from the original's 76, which Shui categorized. Furthermore, the 63 sounds have subdivisions of 23 initials, 24 finals, and 16 holistic symbols. This makes him realize that the dean is a genius who has upgraded the original. Shui expresses his amazement for the dean's efforts, but the old man refuses to take credit since it was Shui's system that set the foundation for this upgrade, or else they would still be using characters to explain characters endlessly. Sensei Si informs Shui that he has sent on the achievement to his own teacher, which will grant Shui the recommendation to gain a title faster. Our boy humbly shows his appreciation to the dean and Sensei Si, but in reality he is thankful for nepotism in the world. Shui then inquires Sensei Si about his master, so he tells him that the current imperial pyramid is led by the emperor, and beneath him are the 3 halls, 2 pavilions, and the 5 grand academicians. They are as follows: Central Hall, Founding Hall, Martial Hero Hall, Literary Abyss Pavilion, and the East Pavilion. Sensei Si's teacher is one of the 5 grand academicians, Li Haobai. A grand academician like him praised the phonetic system developed by Shui in the letter he sent to Sensei Si. He can even convince the emperor. Dakian's culture has been the same for ages, and no one has been able to change it much, even a little. This causes new ideas to be shunned, but Shui's phonetic system managed to start a movement that might be for the better. Shui questions about the say of the other 4 grand academicians and even the emperor himself, when Li Haobai will be putting in the word for him. Sensei Si reassures him that the emperor is always open to new ideas, and his teacher holds enough convincing power. At the imperial capital, the emperor concludes the audience with the grand academicians. However, before all of them could bid farewell, one of the academicians speaks up respectfully. It is Li Haobai, and he suggests the emperor about a new way of enlightenment that is better than the traditional character cutting. He introduces the phonetic system. In the diligent governance hall, one of the other grand academicians, Niantic Xiaoguang, lashes out at Li Haobai proposing a change in the sacred methods. Another grand academician, Zhang Juyi, addresses Li Haobai, questioning his belief on basic reasoning behind a nation's foundation. A third academician, Su Yigang, speaks on behalf of Li Haobai, suggesting that reforms aren't all bad, since the phonetic system is genuinely superior to the segmented characters method. One of the attendees of the emperor accuses Scholar Su for berating the wisdom of Great Shun's ancestors on purpose. He adds further doubt about Scholar Su's intentions in the term of Great Qian. Scholar Su stares intently at the attendee, which scares him, but then the emperor asserts his dominance in the room to create order once again. Everyone quiets down, and Scholar Su presents his case once again. He claims that the Emperor Shun's refusal to this change will just be a repeat of how Emperor Qian's term ended. To add some weight to his proposal, Scholar Su recalls how Emperor Shun went on a solo trip to the northern barbarians when he was young, and then went to the South Seas to experience life in two different parts of the world. Scholar Su adds that Emperor Shun is not against reforms, rather, he is against methods that are absolute. The old segmented characters method has over 400 initials, with over 1,000 finals. He turns to the other scholars, reminding them about how tiresome it was to remember even half of these characters. Everyone stumbles upon their words as they find Scholar Su's words to be true. He reminds them that it takes a minimum of 5 years. However, with this phonetic system, anyone can be educated within half a year. The scholars split into two sides of either believing that claim or not, so Scholar Su invites them to try it themselves. He then makes it known that the developer of this new method is none other than Shui, a humble fisherman from the countryside, but a rather clever and aware student of his. He puts forward the minister's idea that this invention is worthy of an award and a title of nobility. The emperor seems convinced and even intrigued by Shui. He suggests trying the phonetic system personally and chooses the sixth prince to be its tester. With that, the court gets dismissed. Everyone bids their farewell to the emperor and leave. Back at the academy, Shui gets informed of a test destiny pattern, which is a report to the imperial capital that needs to be completed. This destiny pattern is one entry required by all martial artists. Moreover, this destiny pattern is a rare opportunity for Shui, as those with unique destiny patterns are blessed by the heavens and chosen by destiny. Destiny pattern, despite its name, is not destined to a martial artist, it is a matter of fate. Encountering wind transforms into a tiger, encountering rain transforms into a dragon. Better destiny patterns result in greater achievements for a person, but stronger power for a martial artist. Destiny patterns are also a cheat code that guide you through life with double the rewards and half the effort. Person is possession of a high-ranked destiny pattern has both the main and partial seals, like the youngest martial saint, Zhang Longxiang. His main seal is the Pillar God Mountain, and the partial seal is Menacing Owl Spirit seizing food. For him to gain fame and success in his life, he has to go through disasters and evil. In the 13 years after receiving this reward, Zhang Longxiang has destroyed the northern wastelands, killed 2 experts, and left one severely injured. Displaying the invincible talent of a martial saint, he even took down Yuanji Martial Saint, the guy with the destiny pattern of the great desolate stone mountain, and even achieved Dao amidst wilderness and barren mountains, returning to youth and becoming a martial saint. He only refused to side with Emperor Shun and got killed by Zhang Longxiang. The land where they fought was drenched with blood that turned every living being there into spirit beasts and creatures. However, destiny patterns can change over time, as people's stars can influence each other. Shui wonders how one can measure a destiny pattern, so his master reveals that it is by burning fate patterns in an incense, and then using its ash. The longer and stronger incense burns, the better the effect. The master has already prepared an incense for Shui, which has been kept safe for 5 years since the New Year's Eve, but it lacks the key ingredient known as the Centennial Precious Fish Essence Blood. That name rings a bell in Shui's mind. The natural treasures of the heaven and earth are born and carry the fortune of the heavens, and their inner essence blood contains fortune energy. It is quite the significant material needed to measure destiny patterns. The master has already sent someone to get it, which makes Shui grateful to him. Turns out, this little fisherman plans on getting that rare fish himself. But before he goes on the hunt for the fish, he needs to find a boat suitable for that place. He reaches the dock to find a new boat, as his previous one was crushed during the battle of two mighty spirit beasts. He arrives at a fish pen, as they are common in the current era, and the source of boats for fishermen that cannot afford a boat, but need one to rent for fishing. An old salesman sees Shui frozen in place and starts selling his boat to him. He claims that it has a tung oil finishing, brand new, and a 3-month free trial for the rent. Shui seems intrigued as these boats actually look decent, though some parts have been refurbished, as old boats of desperate fishermen are being resold. Suddenly, a family steps out from a pen. The father, Lin Meng, respectfully greets Shui for visiting his boats. People here know our boy's name and start gossiping about him that he was the 9th disciple that got taken in by Master Yang and has defeated over 100 mountain spirits. Lin Meng also seems ecstatic to finally see his son, Song Bao's hero, in the flesh, because news of his excellence reach far and wide. He tells both of his sons to greet Shui, and so they nervously step forward and give a cute greeting. Embarrassed, Shui requests Lin Meng to drop the formalities. They finally move on to the reason why Lin Meng came to the docks. He wants to hire Shui as the showrunner of his fish pen at a 30% income, plus the best boat he has if it succeeds. Unfortunately for him, Shui doesn't like that his own uncle is using his name to further his business without any real effort, which is normally how the world works, but as a fisherman himself, Shui thinks that being a capable fisherman is better than using one's brand to be successful. If he were to join the fish pens, the other fishermen will only hate him because he is going to hog all of their income while they deal with minimum wage, and that will disappoint his master. To not tangle with how the world works, Shui refuses to accept the job because he is a good man, but only for the right reasons. Lin Meng feels ashamed, so he makes up for it by still offering his best boat to Shui, but also another request. Near the border with the Shuibu County, there have been repeated sightings of spirit beasts recently. So, on behalf of Lin Clan's fish pens, he would like Shui to take care of it. The vast stretch of the Jianghuai marsh waters is a place spoken of in both awe and dread. It is said to hold countless treasures, glittering rewards scattered throughout its depths, but it is also a domain filled with peril, where danger lurks behind every ripple. The marsh is divided into 2 distinct zones, the shallow waters and the deep zone. Each holds its own character, its own rules. The shallow zone is relatively accessible, a place where ordinary people can venture, though the risks remain. Yet, it is poor in resources, containing only meager remnants of what the marsh truly offers. The deep zone, in contrast, is a place of endless unpredictability. Rich, abundant, brimming with rare treasures, it also carries a reputation that chills even the bravest adventurers, for in its depths lie creatures and powers beyond imagination. Every intelligent being that sets foot, or rather fin, in the shallow zone, must bow to order. They are required to report their presence to the Riverlord, ruler of these waters. To ignore such a command is to sign one's own death sentence, for those who defy will be marked for death by none other than Emperor Shun himself, sovereign of this aquatic realm. The rules of survival here are merciless and absolute. It was in these shallow waters that the mother of the fist once came, seeking a safe place to lay her eggs. Yet, at that very time, far beyond in the deep zone, an earth-shattering battle erupted between 2 supreme demons. The clash shook the currents, sending reverberations across the marsh. Such battles are rare, but when they occur, even the shallow zone feels the aftershocks. The demons that Lin Meng had spoken of often dwell along the fragile boundary between shallow and deep. Their presence there is not unusual, but always threatening. To maintain order, Lin Meng dispatched Bu Nengdong and Xie Yang on a stealth mission, tasking them to sweep through the Yixing city waters and clear out the dangerous stragglers. Their mission succeeded. Apart from the most powerful demons, the shallow zone was cleansed, granting common folk a measure of safety. Though safety in Jianghuai Marsh is always relative. At this boundary, Shui sails with measured calm. He is not overly troubled by the strength of the demons that may linger here. What presses more heavily on his mind is the fact that he has now gained the ability to tread into the forbidden deep. His body thrums with energy as he activates his fusion, his strength nearing the flesh-breaking state at 70%. To him, this is not just a challenge, it is an opportunity. In those depths swims the fabled 100-year treasure fish, a rare creature that manifests only in the deep zone. Its value is legendary, and the hunt fills Shui with excitement. Without hesitation, he dives into the waters. Cold waves fold over his body as he submerges, the liquid world embracing him. The deeper he goes, the more he is enthralled by the strange treasures that surround him. Flickers of glowing plants, glittering minerals, schools of unusual fish scattering like sparks in the current. Hours slip by as he scours the waters, yet his true target eludes him. Then, fortune grants him discoveries of another kind. He stumbles upon water essence grass, a delicate plant swaying in the current. A single stalk of this grass can grant even an ordinary human the ability to breathe underwater for half an hour. Nearby, he uncovers clusters of yushi shells, pearly and lustrous, a delicacy craved by nobles and valued at high price in markets. These finds are precious, yet Shui feels a sting of disappointment. He has located everything except the treasure fish he seeks. Frustrated, he calls forth Afe. The spirit companion emerges eagerly, and almost immediately, the simp wisp detects a disturbance in the weeds. It darts forward, guiding Shui toward a dense patch of underwater growth. From the weeds emerges a colossal 7-star eel, its body glinting with scales that shimmer faintly in the dim light. Demons of such size are not born strong merely by existing. Only those that reach levels near the wolf smoke stage earn the right to be called demons, for their presence is rare and terrifying. The truly high-level ones are cunning, wise enough to avoid the shallow waters altogether, lest they draw the wrath of Emperor Shun. Ordinary folk, likewise, dare not approach these beasts. No reward is worth staking one's life. On rare occasions, a wild-born treasure fish may wield unexpected strength, yet even such a creature would pale before Shui's current power. Against the eel, he moves with confidence. When the massive beast lunges at him with lightning speed, Shui slips past with ease, his body flowing like water itself. With a flick of will, he calls upon the currents, trapping the eel within 900 pounds of water flow, binding its body and rendering it immobile. Victory seems within his grasp, but before he can finish the capture, the waters behind him erupt. A titanic shadow looms, and in an instant another monster surges forth, its maw opening wide. The 7-star eel is swallowed whole in one horrific snap of jaws. Shui twists around, face to face with the intruder. What towers before him is no ordinary beast but a giant water demon, its presence so oppressive that the currents themselves seem to tremble. His thoughts race. Could this be the very demon Lin Meng warned me of? Yet, in the moment, such speculation is irrelevant. What matters, what burns in his chest, is the insult. This creature dared to steal his prize, his hard-earned prey. Anger flares through him like fire in the depths. With cold fury, Shui swears that this demon will pay dearly. For daring to rob him of his fish, he vows to kill it with his own hands. His physicality continues to grow stronger each time his fusion rate increases, and the sensation fills him with anticipation. The thought of one day stepping beyond the current limits, advancing past the breaking flesh stage into full transformation, makes his blood stir. To achieve such a leap, Shui speculates that devouring the giant demon before him might be the key. Compared to the 7-star eel, its power and size are far greater, and perhaps consuming it will grant him a boost strong enough to push him through the threshold and allow his swamp spirit to evolve to the next stage. With excitement sharpening his resolve, Shui launches himself toward the monster. His movements are swift and precise, his body twisting gracefully in the water as he evades the demon's wild strikes. Closing the distance, he drives his spear straight into the beast with overwhelming force. The violent thrust penetrates deep into its body, sending shockwaves of pain through the creature as it collapses and tumbles helplessly toward the ocean floor. From the tip of his weapon, the parasite clinging to it injects its venom, further weakening the demon. In that moment, his fish rush to the battlefield and pressing down on the wounded foe. They swarm the giant demon, holding it in place while it writhes and thrashes, but the venom has already slowed it. Seizing the advantage, Shui races downward like an arrow through the water, delivering a decisive strike that slices the demon cleanly in half. The sea falls silent in the wake of the battle. Victorious, Shui allows himself a rare smile. Unlike his previous clashes this time, he has not sustained even a single injury, a testament to his growing strength. Looking at the dagger in his hand, he feels a spark of eagerness, imagining the day when he can unleash its full hidden power. From nearby, his crocodile companion crawls toward him with surprising playfulness, nudging him as if to remind him that the spoils must now be divided. Later, when the fire crackles and the rich scent of roasting meat fills the air, Shui notices something peculiar. Despite the monster's immense size, its flesh is far less than one might expect, barely half of what its bulk suggested. Even so, the portions that remain are large enough to satisfy him and his companions. Looking forward to the gains this feast will bring, he sinks his teeth into the freshly cooked meat. The moment he swallows, his body reacts. Just a single bite grants him plus 22 water essence. The result is immediate, electrifying. With newfound determination, Shui makes up his mind. He will consume every last piece of the giant demon's flesh, and by the end of the night, he will evolve his swamp spirit without fail. Shui completely fuses with the swamp spirit, water Manhwa, white, and water Manhwa itself by obtaining a taste of river's flavor, which was a requirement to achieve Ascension. He realizes that it was during the river's sacrifice, which gives him 0.0001 with the Huai River, as he gave it a sacrifice. He managed to complete all requirements for the Ascension as a fluke, so now he is ready to activate it. The process of the Ascension reminds him of the time when the swamp spirit favored him. Suddenly, he falls on his knees due to unexpected pressure, making him think that the Ascension failed. Fortunately, it succeeded. He now has the swamp spirit Zeswan, a naturally rare species that is extremely powerful and incomparably ferocious. The fusion grants the user giant dragon tendons and tiger bones, beloved by the river. The additional limbs are as big as a dragon, and the bones are durable like a tiger's. Additionally, he now has strength with no cap, chi that knows no bound, an unstoppable force that allows him to drag even a 9 oxen backwards. The transformation puts him through pain, but Shui endures. A spirit reveals himself from within him. The spirit is Zeswan, Azure, which grants him a comprehended innate skill called Surfing Ways and Water Prison. He also receives the blessings of the water essence, which grants him nourishment underwater. But being submerged in water drains away the water essence to make up for the shortcomings in his water beast evolution. The process finally ends, leaving Shui exhausted as he lays on the ground. He stares at a screen which shows him that he is now a cauldron master with a refined swamp spirit that is Zeswan, Azure, though with only a 1% fusion rate. He obtained Zealing's favor, which grants him the martial path to divine rank. He is currently at the first stage as the Riverlord Emperor. His innate skills now include water leap, water control, water prison, and surfing water waves. He lacks a water essence for now, and the river's favor is at 0.0001. Fortunately for him, with the tiger bones and dragon tendons constantly breaking and fixing his body, the reward was well worth it. The combined strength of chi in his blood now gives him 3 times the power, as he manages to crack a boulder with a light punch. Due to the flesh and skin stages having weak blood and chi, one needs to keep his physical condition on check and consume medicine that improve blood flow to make progress. After one reaches the bone stage, he can practice methods to gain access to his internal body, while providing for the external training, and is able to penetrate internal organs. Thankfully, his master has already trained him about cultivating the inscription of circulating chi early on, which why he is able to now unlock the bone stage. With long dragon tendons that grants agile muscles, heavy tiger bones, and great strength, he feels an extraordinary power. Since he ascended, the breakthrough was made 3 times less painful, because the tripled blood from dragon tendons and tiger bones is quite harsh on the body. However, since he paid attention in class by listening to his master on the internal cultivation, the power gained from Ascension was like second nature to him. He also receives the option to evolve both of his animals, Taihua crocodile to a horned crocodile, and the tiger-head catfish into a mite tiger wolf. He gladly gives Budong the crocodile and Afe the fish their well-deserved evolutions. The two of them undergo the evolution process and break out of their former shells, emerging as completely different creatures. Budong consumed 14,912 of Shui's water essence to evolve, while Afe consumed 14,926 points of water essence. The two cute little creatures turn into majestic-looking giant monsters, but retaining their wholesome personalities as the pets of their beloved master. He pets Afei's newly developed horn and returns them back to their base form, for now. The evolution process is quite costly, so now he has to cut back on using more fusion, as the rate has gone 10 times as high. With the blessing of water essence and the nourishment it provides to the life force, he plans on gradually absorbing the water essence while he's under there, so that his water beast evolution isn't affected by anything. Now that 2 of his pet beasts are evolved, he wants the remaining 2 to keep up as the dangers ahead are unpredictable. He stands proud as he gazes upon his 4 cute little trump cards. Previously, he had no choice, but now he wants to be the very best by catching them all. Back at the river, Shui travels on his boat with great speed and stability, impressed by how effective his newly unlocked traits are, now that he can soar through water and ride waves. Moreover, Afei and Budong, with their evolved transformations, have each acquired a special skill of their own. Afei has a skill that is similar to emitting high-frequency waves, and Budong can gradually heal all of allies. Shui uses water prison to capture multiple fish at once, and the monsters that try to sneak up on him are met with the other 2 of his pets. Fish transformed into a rock-clawed crab, and Away transformed into a heavenly water centipede. With this many divine skills at his disposal, Shui is able to fish so easily. However, his next upgrade just took so much out of him, though the rewards are amazing, regardless of how tiresome the path to cultivation is. He decides to return to the fish pens and explain them about the situation at the river. 2 old fishermen wait for Shui to return at the shore, but they seem skeptical about him coming back as it has been 3 days, and they assume that those confident in their skill to swim drown all the more. Their mocking session is interrupted with the huge head of the monster Shui killed. He orders the old fisherman to inform his uncle that the spirit monster has been taken care of, so now all debts are paid and he is taking the boat. He walks away while the old fishermen stare in awe at the head of the monster that terrorized them. Shui takes a stroll in the market, disappointed that he couldn't get the fish he wanted, but the ones he has needs to be sold. He hears a fuss in the crowd about someone catching a special fish, one that they have never seen before. It turns out to be old Chen, who bathes in the praises of his incredible catch. He glances at Shui in the crowd and requests him to inspect the big carp to confirm whether it is a precious fish, because that's what martial artists do. He takes a closer look and confirms that it is indeed a century-old precious fish known as the blueback dragon carp. The weight of this thing makes it worth at least 45 taels. Hearing the price shocks everyone, so Shui places the bag of money worth 50 taels in the hands of old Chen to try and buy the precious fish. In shock, at first, old Chen insists that Shui should take this fish for free because he saved them all from the river sacrifice, which is worth more than any silver. The crowd thinks that he has gone mad, but Shui appreciates that old Chen hasn't changed at all. The old man took care of the original Shui by splitting the meat buns meant for his own kids, for our boy, so that he doesn't starve to death. However, Shui gives up the 50 taels and takes the fish, blessing his guardian with such a prize. Everyone in the crowd appreciates old Chen for raising such a kind kid, whereas Shui only cares about getting the final ingredient to test the new destiny pattern when New Year arrives. At a certain place, with kids playing in the courtyard, an old man burns an incense and prays that the spirits of his old comrades continue to watch over the disciples and descendants of the Yang clan. It turns out to be Shui's master, and the chamber is where all of his old comrades' souls are stored. The master turns back to Shui, claiming that it is time for him to test the destiny pattern, which surprises him. The blood sacrifice ritual is a way to connect to one's destiny pattern. Shui scratches his palm with a dagger and drops just a drop of blood into the bowl. His master then mixes ash with the seal ink, then pours it in a fancy container. Next, he instructs Shui to press it down using his right hand without shaking a lot because a clear end product is always better. His master then pours it onto a flat surface, but the blood marks turn into a perfect circle. With anticipation, Shui and his senior brothers look at the master stamping the blood marks so dramatically, and with that, Shui has now completed both the major and the minor seals. His senior brothers congratulate Shui for getting his own destiny pattern, and the fact that he has 2 seals is special, because most either get none or only one. Instead of being a fierce spirit, Shui's minor seal on the left is an inanimate object, a river, and the major seal on the right is a monkey, which doesn't fit the fierce spirit genre. Senior brother seems confused that Shui's seals seem to be reversed, but someone else points out that the minor seal is probably not a river, but a dragon, because it has a split tail. They turn to their master for answers, who reveals that this is quite the evil seal. The minor seal is the dragon crossing rivers fate, which can be interpreted in two ways. A snake turns into a flood dragon after 500 years, and 1,000 years later, that flood dragon turns into an actual dragon after crossing two rivers. These means that either Shui will face many trials and become a great dragon amongst men, or his path to dragonhood will be crossing someone else's. This shocks everyone, but Shui reassures them that whether he may have to cross the rivers or the rivers cross him, he can prove that he is a talented individual. Master becomes proud of his ambitions and trusts that the young man who fought 7 alone can definitely become a dragon that soars through the skies. However, the major seal doesn't seem to mean anything, except that its elemental nature is water. The major seal can create harsh calamities in water, but as Yaoju's minor seal is also water in watery terrain, this will bring all kinds of fortune, bad and good, to them. The master advises them to not rely on their destiny too much, because even with great fate, the harsh predictions can set bad thing in motion on their journey. He plans on reporting this destiny pattern of Shui to the authorities and look forward to the rewards, so our boy shows his appreciation towards the master for his favors. In his heart, Shui knows that this seal isn't some random fierce monkey. It is the ancient, fierce god Wujik. Combined with the swamp cauldron, he is confident that no one can take it away from him. At the Emperor's chambers, Emperor Shun reads the letter of Shui's destiny pattern. He is amused that this fisherman was first born by the great swamp waters, and now his great fate has given him the dragon crossing rivers. He wonders if this works in Shui's favor, or against him. He assumes that his enemy will be the shameless old flood dragon in the great swamp, and so the battle to decide who the true dragon is getting interesting. With his face finally revealed, Emperor Shun seems curious about Shui meeting his expectations. After the exhausting training session, the master plans to put Shui and Changsong to test because he has high expectations of them, and they joined last. Changsong has to become the true martial disciple, possibly the galloping horse stage, within 1 year, but Shui only has to break through 3 stages as he just learned martial arts. However, Shui demonstrates that he has already broken through 2 stages, which shocks everyone in the room. Within next year, he is confident that he can become a true martial master. The master becomes so impressed that he tells Shui about the old emperor Huanwu, who created the myriad victory skill, unmatched under heaven, but it was broken down into simpler techniques. But Dao Master Ge Jiantai of Luguantai brought the skill back in a new form by merging it with the Dao technique Baodan skill. The master plans on transferring that knowledge all to Shui today. In a pavilion, Emperor Shun plays a game of shogi with Steward Kong, who claims that the emperor is putting a lot of faith in young Shui. The emperor replies that those who showed merit were rewarded, and those who couldn't weren't. Master Yang helped the Shun family once, so he deserved it. Steward Kong raises the question about Shui deserving the dame reward, but the 6th prince interrupts the conversation with his cuteness. Using the opportunity, Emperor Shun tells the steward that his son has memorized over 500 characters and learned the pinyin method in 7 days. This proves that Shui deserved the reward for this new system. At a river port, a captain seems furious that Commander Shu hasn't made it to the boat because they are about to sail. A girl named Ran Ying is aboard the ship as well, who leisurely enjoys the snow. In a snowy terrain, a mother sends off her son with tears. She scolds the father because his uselessness forced their son to leave for the county to become a magistrate. The father argues that Pingyang is now a big thing, and he might get a chance if the emperor is impressed by him. The cart reaches Pingyang. A huge muscular man called Ku Zhuang carries the load of his master, wondering why they have to be here. Lan Tai tells him that Pingyang is soon to become a county, so his strength is enough for them to stroll like this. Pang Qinghe, the master, reminds Ku of his purpose of coming here. It is to challenge the Yang clan martial hall and challenge them.